revealed and I think it was on Tuesday at the grand opening of John Gray High School, that she had suffered an injury to her eye, which has caused her to wear dark glasses. Now, a lot of people, I think, didn't hear the story. And so there'd been some speculation about, well, why is she wearing glasses, at the recent reshuffling of cabinet. So there's a logical explanation, folks. Fear not. Her grandson kind of accidentally hit her in the eye with a toy. And so she's got quite a bruised eye. She actually had to go to the doctor, and it was a blood vessel that burst and everything. So it looks really, really bad. I don't know if you've seen the picture that we posted up, but it was quite a lick. But she's getting better every day. The eye seems to be getting better.
Well, that's good.
I just explain that because people are concerned.
Yeah.
The RCIPS are encouraging people to secure their vehicles by simply locking them. I know it sounds so incredibly logical. And I guess we all on occasion walk away and forget to lock a car, right? But yes, that, people, thieves in particular, will find whatever method is easiest to separate you from your valuables. And if they go around checking cars and yours happens to be unlocked, well, you've just made their life super, super easy. So try to remember to lock your vehicles, because the police have said that they are targeting unlocked vehicles. And
but also don't leave stuff in your car. That's valuable.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you forget though, but yeah, absolutely. Try to take it.
But yeah.
Yeah. So 10 Cuban migrants have been repatriated on a chartered flight by way of Cayman Airways. They've taken the Saab and sent them back to Cuba. So this happened on Tuesday. And so the numbers continue to go down somewhat for the Cuban nationals that we have currently in the Cayman Islands. It's a process. A lot of people are saying, why can't it be done quicker? Hurry up. And, I think we have to appreciate that a lot of them are undocumented. So in other words, we don't actually know who they are. And Cuba has some very apparently stringent policies in place where they're not going to just take people back just because they say they're Cubans. Yeah. They need to prove their identification, and they've got to go through certain protocols with the Cuban officials in order to return them.
Well, and also you've got to, go through the refugee state status, see if they really, are need to be away, from their country or something. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of them do apply for asylum, which obviously halts the process of returning them.
Well, that's but not everyone is, but let's just all hope that we don't have to be in that situation where we need to apply for asylum somewhere else. Anyway,
I can't imagine what that journey is like.
Exactly.
In a boat. Man, it's got to be rough.
Yeah,
absolutely. The Chess Federation has announced that they've received a significant boost. They're seeking to relaunch the school program this year. And it was put in, their program was put on hold because of COVID-19. And they had a fundraiser. Actually, they have one coming up on Wednesday at Cayman Bay. So go check it out, folks. They're going to feature a Q&A at the View Cinema at 5 p.m., followed by the third edition of Grandmaster Corporate Challenge at Abacus at 6 p.m. So if you're into chess or you want to get your kids, it's a great game. I mean, to get children involved in it. Uses their brain in all the right ways. So go ahead and check that out. You can contact CICF President Sean Tracy at sean@cicf.ky. So definitely support that organization. One more community announcement. The Orchid Show is on this weekend, the Orchid Show and Sale. I love looking at orchids. They're so pretty. And so go, folks, and check it out at the Queen Elizabeth II Botanic Park annual Orchid Show and Sale this weekend, March the 25th and the 26th.
All right. Catch Sandy Show right now on Bobo 89.1 FM. We'll see you tomorrow for the Friday headlines. All right.
Brilliant.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio.
We are still spilling the tea.
And committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
Come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman,
Live, direct.
it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
All right, good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of the Cold Hard Truth. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far. Can you believe it? We're already on Thursday. Well, here we are. We're going to get it, as usual, here to give you all of the latest news, information, community announcements, everything, all in one-stop shop. We've got it for you. For some reason, my camera is doing a little bit something weird today. So we are going to do that. And I don't know what's going on. A little bit bizarre, but the show goes on regardless. It's working. It's just doing something I suspect it's not supposed to be doing. How are you guys doing today? Who's with me? Who is up? Good morning, everyone. Who do we have? Miss Vernita's in the house. She says, good morning, angels. Irvelyn is here. Hello, Irvelyn. We've got Vicky. Says, what surprise will this Thursday morning? Good morning, happy people. First Lady Jayanne is also here. She's watching with the baby, I'm sure. She says, good morning to all. Have a blessed day. Wee, good morning to you. Miss Elaine is in the house. Good morning, Miss Elaine. We've got Alice, Robert, Anne, Darlene, Mackenzie. Where's the other Darlene? We always have a couple Darlenes. Miss Darlene in the UK. She's normally tuned in as well. We've got John Dry Rot Ferguson. Oh my goodness, John, that name. How are you, John? Hope you are well. I like your profile picture. That's quite interesting. Louis. Hey, Louis. We've not seen you in a minute. Louis is Caymanian living in Detroit. Is it still snowing there? Is it still winter? What month are we in? We're in March. So are we starting to ease into spring a little bit? Louis has a beautiful garden area and he's always sending us wonderful pictures of his Detroit garden. We've got La Beba Bella also in the house saying good morning to everyone. Lily Boo. Hey, Lily, I saw your husband over the weekend. Yes, that was Saturday. I had not seen him in a minute. We share a birthday together and he was saying that we hadn't really done anything for our birthdays recently. And I said, well, this year's a big one for me, and I'm contemplating what to do. I've been thinking about a Vegas trip, and then I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to take my daughter because I don't, travel with her. And so then I was like, there'd be some shows at night that I might want to go to that she can't really go to. So then does that mean I leave her and the hubby behind? So I'm kind of torn about Vegas, but I do think Vegas would be a lot of fun. I could go maybe see the Grand Canyon and do a few things that I haven't done before, which kind of sounds all like fun. So still thinking about it. I'll let you guys know. Olivia's here. Good morning to John. John says, I am here as usual. Yes, sirree. DJ. Oh, gosh. Well, I think I always get this wrong. DJ, is it trucking? Yes. Is in the house. Good morning, Miss Dorothy. Miss Bonnie is here. John, of course I'm going to say hello to you. Why not? Richard is in the house. Alejandro is here. Miss Barbara is also here. Sometimes the messages come in a little bit delayed, John, but don't worry. I see you, honey child. I got you. We say good morning to everyone if we can. Good morning to Miss Sue. Good morning to Stephen. We've got Jan Emerson also in the house. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. So what a show yesterday. Oh my gosh. It was crazy. Hello, KK. Says Auntie Sandy. You know what is so funny? When I was at John Gray High School the other day, I have grandnieces and nephews. Now I'm really starting to get old when I say that, right? So my nieces and nephews have children. That makes them my grand. And one of them, it was so funny because kids grew up so fast. And, you know, if you don't see them every day, when you do see them, you're like, whose kid is this? So he's got such a cute little baby face. This is Maliki's son. I don't even know his name, honey child. I'm like the worst with this kind of stuff. And he says, oh, do you know me? And I was like, oh, your face looks very familiar. And I said, you're so cute. You have such a cute little baby face. And then he told me who he was. I was like, oh my gosh, you've gotten so big. Like the face, you could still see from when he was like much younger and a baby. That face is still there, but now it's getting grown up, but he still has a really cute baby face. And yeah, he's like, we're family. And I was like, aw. You know, these kids are really into CMR, honey child. So I think it's kind of bragging rights to say that that's actually my aunt, not just like auntie as in community auntie. Like she really is family. So I saw a couple. I saw his sister there as well. And there was a couple that walked by and said, hey, auntie. And I'm like, okay, I don't know who you are, but hello. So honey child, the family's big, a lot bigger than I know. Aliano's in the house. KK said that you missed out on yesterday's show. What? You did? Honey child, go catch up. The beautiful thing about it, folks, Facebook and YouTube, you can always go there and rewatch episodes. Sometimes you have to digest a show a second time for it to really kind of click and make sense. I must tell you that I went back and I watched some portions of last week Wednesday's show with George Ebanks because I was in my head about this and I said, you know, I was really, really, really trying to interject into the conversation that George was on air. And I said, let me go back and see if there was an opportunity for me to kind of jump in. And the only time, folks, that I was able to jump in is like, you can't say that, no profanity. And he was still talking over me even at those times. But my God, I lost count the number of times I tried to jump into that conversation. And George was simply not having it. He's like, no, no, and no. I was like, wow, pretty crazy. You know, yesterday he was actually in Radio Cayman. We're going to go through some of what transpired yesterday. And really, I'm looking for this. Hold on one second. This thing is, can't find something on the computer. And really what George is now saying, he's kind of been all over the place with his emotions. And I mean, I guess I understand it up to a point, but I do think there's a lot more going on with George than he is willing to certainly admit. And at some point, we all have to take accountability for our own behavior. That's what happens when you start adulting, child. Being an adult is not easy. And, you know, sometimes you feel like you still have the emotions of a child, even as an adult, except that as an adult, you got to take responsibility for it. Nobody is going to give you a pass, you know, at any of this. So it is what it is. And you've got to get help. And there's so many enablers or people around you who they don't even know sometimes that they're enabling your behavior, but they really are. And I hope that we all reflect as people, even in our own families. You know, some of us have kids that we're enablers for. We have other people in our family and communities that we enable by simply not being honest with them. And it's kind of a sad indictment, to be quite frank. So, oh, the tea tastes good this morning, honey chow. What kind of tea is this? Super blends. I don't know what they blended it with, but it's delicious. So accountability, you know, people make mistakes and they do things. So he did go on the radio yesterday and apologize. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. So KK, go back and watch the show. Good morning to Caribbean Sunshine. She says, buenos dias, my reina. Siobhan is in the house. Elizabeth says, Buenos dias. Luis says, I'm here for a quick second, just saying hello. Spring has arrived. So we're an hour ahead. Yes, very good. And no more snow as yet. It's raining right now, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the high temperature for today. And 50 degrees is nice. That's nice weather. I love a little chill in my bones every once in a while. I really enjoy the cold in New York. I mean, I couldn't live in it permanently, but I think to visit it every once in a while was like really, really nice. Oh my God. When we were in the Empire State Building on the one side where we were getting all the wind chill and it felt like below zero. Oh, I was like, no, I can't take this. I was freezing. My patooties off. I had bought gloves when I was there. And did I take gloves or did I buy gloves? Anyway, I ended up buying, this, they have a lot of street vendors in New York, every corner. And I ended up buying this kind of like, the guys here wear them when they're outside working, like doing gardening work, but it's like the hoodie that pretty much covers your entire face. And the only thing that's out is your eyes and then a little breathing area. And so these were the nice warm ones, and it felt so good to cover up your face because your face gets really cold. So I bought one of those after the first day on the streets of New York, and that really helped a lot to keep me warm. So, but I enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to go back to New York, I feel soon. Summer trip for sure, so we can do some of the other stuff. But yeah, so Bishop Hero Blair is in the house, and good morning to everyone. John Dryfoot says, my baby face fell off a long, long time ago. Oh my goodness. So yesterday was quite a show. Good morning to everybody else who's joining the program. It was quite a show. And I must say that quite honestly, oh, Alejandro, is that really your uncle, Uncle Louis? Oh, fantastic. So good to see family on here. Bishop Hero Blair says, you sure can't beat yesterday's program. I know a lot of you felt like a lot of it was jaw dropping. And if I could say this, that isn't even everything. I'm not trying to be mean to the former minister, but I think that for me to be very clear, my allegiances are not political. My allegiances are to people and this country, right? So every person who has been victimized, and that's what it is. Let's just be very, very clear here. Every person who has been victimized by unwanted attention and who has said no, and who has someone who consistently pursues them, knowing how the civil servants are oftentimes afraid. They're afraid to speak up. One of the reasons why I get so much information, this is what I tell people, is the civil servants don't have any faith in the system. And generally, people don't have faith in the system because the people believed that the system worked and that when they lodge a complaint, it would be handled accordingly. There'd be no need for people to come to me. People come to me, I find, in most cases, as a last resort, or because they feel like any other option that is available to them isn't really an option. And so that's why, people tell me all sorts of information, and they come to me sometimes before they'll even go to the police. And then sometimes I advocate on their behalf through the police, and I'll only deal with certain people at the RCIPS. And I'm not just picking up the phone and calling and speaking to the average officer, because I know exactly where that gets you, nowhere. So I have my connections at the RCIPS that I can file certain concerns and complaints with. And so, that's how it happens. But yeah, it's a sad indictment, really, I think, on the system. I think there has to be some improvements, and people, will, I think they'll believe and start to trust that the system works if they actually see it working. But I guess you also have to try it in order to see what the outcome will be. So, we were riding with y'all, civil servants. I know sometimes y'all think I'm hard on you and whatever, but you're us and we are you. So this is really about unity at all levels and standing up for what is right. And there is so much more. That rabbit hole goes, ooh, honey child, there's so much more that I haven't talked about. There's like a whole C3 arm of this, which I haven't gotten into, where correspondence had to be sent to government by representatives at C3 defending themselves against allegations that were made by the minister. You have to be very, very careful. I'm surprised nobody has sued him yet, to be honest. Take it from me, I've been sued for far less, honey chill. But you can't just go around making dispersions and calling people's integrity into question without any real reason for that. Just because you don't like them, because you think they're prejudiced or whatever, that's just not it, right? So I really hope that you guys will understand that there's so much more to the situation. So of course the opposition has come out. Good morning, Cameron. Cameron says, let me tell you, honey child, after yesterday, your phone must have been on life support this morning. Oh my gosh. Yes, it was something else. But of course, yesterday's show elicited a response that was to be somewhat expected. And the usual suspects came out of the woodworks. And again, that was to be expected as well. So let me address a few of them. First and foremost, of course, Mario, who claims that he doesn't listen to the show, seems to have had every single word down to T that was said. And so let me address Mario because, of course, there's some video that was in circulation that was part of what he said. And I do want to set the record straight on that. I'm not into the tit for tat, to be quite frank. What Mario has to say is his opinion and he's entitled to it. But I think the difference with Mario is he throws certain things out there as facts when it actually is not a fact. And so when it relates to me, I just want to actually set the record straight in terms of those things. So first and foremost, Mario and I have had, and I'm willing to admit this, a very tumultuous relationship over the years. I don't know him super personal, but I know enough about him. I think he has an interesting personality. And, there are times when you just have to recognize and admit that you're not going to get along with everyone. And that's fine. You don't have to get along with people, folks. You don't have to like people. There's nothing wrong, quite honestly, with Mario Rankin for just a split second. There's nothing wrong with saying that, you know what, you're just not my cup of tea. I don't think that saying that is a bad thing. We all have different personality types, and it is what it is. So I'm not insulted. If people don't like me, that doesn't bother me. Why would that bother me? It is what it is. I think, if people are going to speak on you now, they just need to make sure that they get the facts straight. So first of all, let me correct something that I said about Mario yesterday in his diatribe, which I haven't listened to, but someone did call and give me the Cliff Note version. He said that my comments about him were completely wrong because I got the event wrong. So I was saying that it was a cleanup post Ivan. And in fact, I've been corrected that it wasn't a cleanup post Ivan. It was in relation to the scrap metalling and whatever that went on as part of the Esterly Tibbetts Highway expansion. So when that road was being built. So my apologies to, what's his name, to Mario. I got that detail wrong. I was thinking in my head it was post-Ivan. It was actually the Esterly Tibbetts road being built and the whole expansion surrounding that. The main point, though, yes, let's get all the details correct if we can. But the main point was that there were allegations against the consortium that he was a part of, and he was head of that consortium. And there were allegations about his behavior. And he said, okay, it wasn't multiple trucks that was tortured. It was only one. Listen, I think you get the point that the other Caymanians who were part of that consortium, he never addressed his performance necessarily per se in his comments yesterday. But what he did do, which is very, very interesting, and this is human nature, folks, this is to be expected. If someone says something about you, even if it's true, and you think that this person has insulted you or whatever, you're going to go for the jugular. Okay, I get it, Mario. That's perfectly fine. Not a program. Sydney, good morning. Sydney says, good morning. Excellent program yesterday. It's okay. You can go for the jugular, but I would ask you that when you go for the jugular, you actually get it right. Right? It's so funny because you say, oh, I get information wrong. And then in the very next breath, you say something about me that's completely wrong. So let's listen to some of what Mario had to say yesterday. Poor him. He only has a couple hundred views on his platform. So let's give Mario a little pat on the back this morning and some accolades and some recognition. So here he is. Talking about Mario Rankin for just a split second. Mario post Ivan was in charge of this whole island cleanup, collecting the scrap. So I correct myself this morning. It wasn't post Ivan. It was during the Esterly Tibbetts road build out and expansion. So we will correct that for the record. Meddling, whatever.
Let's talk about Mario. I mean, who better to talk about Mario than Mario? First off, let's address Sandra when she decided to get on her talk show this morning and talk pure foolishness as usual. First of all, DART didn't give anybody any money to clean up Cayman after Hurricane Ivan. MC Restoration was a company that was awarded a contract by government to clean up the island.
That project does not make you an expert. All right, so he was part of a consortium. Okay, he says it wasn't DART money. All right, if he says so. Who else was building the East-West Arterial? Okay, a consortium. Now, on all things waste management and so on. You had one task to complete. By all accounts, you actually did not do a very good job.
She talked about scrap metal, and she talked about, I did such a poor job. Again, when you're not used to talking facts, it's hard to become accustomed to facts. And when you've been convicted 3 times and have to pay back lawsuits, that's a clear indication that you struggle with the facts. And
okay, so been convicted 3 times and had to pay back lawsuits. I don't know what Mario's talking about, because let's be very clear. A conviction is in a criminal court. In civil proceedings, you have to pay back. So maybe he's trying to commingle 2 different things. Let me set the record straight, since he says that you have to be clear on the facts. I've been convicted in 1 case with Matthew Leslie, and that case is going to Court of Appeal for an appeal. Very shortly, in fact, we have a case management hearing coming up. I have not lost a civil case, and I've never had to pay out any lawsuit. So I don't know what he's talking about, if he's confused or where he got his facts from. But, since he's so keen on getting the facts straight, I thought I would just clarify those very important details. Okay. Let's move on and see what else Mario had to say.
you struggle with the truth.
So much so that the other truckers and people who were assisting you with the cleanup of this project ended up torching your vehicles, your company trucks.
Now, when Sandra referred to one of my trucks or trucks being burnt, again, she's so far out of the left field that it's not even funny. My truck got burnt up because I allowed one of my drivers, who was a Caymanian guy, to drive the truck home because he didn't have a ride. And he had a conflict with one in his personal life. People thought it was his truck. They burnt the truck because they thought it was his, not mine.
So let me try to understand this. The burnt trucks that happened on your property that there's a police report for, and the vandalism to your super sports car and stuff didn't happen. Like none of that happened. And we're going to just pretend like that's not the truth. Okay, Mario. I mean, if you want to go with these alternative facts, you can do that. But these are, I feel like this isn't something that can be disputed. You were targeted. The very guys who were involved in that consortium have spoken to me over the years, and they say Mario is a horrible person when it comes to money management and just paying stuff as he should, because he's trying to live this lifestyle that he esteems to, that the pocketbook and the bank account don't really support. All right. Need I remind you, because, when Mario talks about the facts, I think it is important for, especially when he says, oh, you've been convicted 3 times and made to pay out money. We should not forget. And again, it's difficult because at some point you want people to move past their past, and we all have made mistakes and we've all done stuff. But the one person who has a conviction on record that means that he can never run for public office is actually Mario, not me. I mean, if I wanted to run for public office, I could do so. Mario has a dishonesty conviction which precludes him from ever in his entire lifetime being eligible to run for public office. This is Mario Rankin. KK says, which Mario are we talking about? So this is Mario Rankin. And of course, you guys know, he has a platform that some people listen to. He lost a lot of his followers after COVID because the only thing that they had in common was the whole COVID pandemic. Nobody cares otherwise what he has to say. So, and there are times I actually think Mario is an interesting person to speak to, or speak with, I should say. But, we're never going to be friends. Let's just be very, very clear about that. And that's fine. You don't have to be friends, I think, with certain types of individuals. But, I don't want to get in too much into Mario because he's not that extremely relevant to the conversation. The point that I was trying to make when I was talking about Mario yesterday, and maybe he missed the memo, is the fact that I don't care what he thinks in terms of his experience, he doesn't have the relevant experience to be able to pull off anything in relation to a regen project. And I also want to clarify something. When I said yesterday that the DART people had the resources, I wasn't saying that they personally had the experience on this island, because nobody in Cayman has the respective experience to be able to put together a major facility like what we're talking about that is going to be a multi-million-dollar infrastructure facility for solid waste management. This is an entire solid waste management strategy that is going to support this island for the next 100+ years. They don't have the expertise, but what they do have is access to people who have the expertise, right? So even their bid, they won this bid, and the bid is in fact with a consortium of people. It's not just the DART organization or DART people. So they have pulled in a consortium of people who have the respective, expertise. This is a multi-million-dollar project to turn the Georgetown landfill site into a green space and build state-of-the-art infrastructure that, when finished, will actually improve recycling and turn materials that aren't recycled into electricity to power our homes and businesses. So this regen project is a massive project, and it's all about energy and recycling and creating a green space. And I encourage those of you who aren't really that familiar with the project and what it will be to please go to regen.ky. I'll share the link in the comment section to get a better idea of what this is about, what the vision is for what this will look like. Say whatever you want. People have varying opinions about the DART organization and what it is that they do and what they don't do. But one thing I've always said is that they do build to a certain standard. So when they build something, you can believe that it is built to a good quality, They just recently completed basically 2 buildings almost simultaneously on the Kamada Bay site. One is closer to the CIS school, and then one is further down by Foster's. And they're mixed use. I think the one down by Foster's is going to be mixed use. So upstairs will be living quarters, and then downstairs is going to be Downstairs is going to be like retail shops and stuff like that. The other building is office space. And I don't think they've ever had, knock on wood that it doesn't happen, but I don't think they've even ever had an accident on site. Like, they have a very good track record of safety, construction safety, and they really take these things quite seriously. And their buildings are of quality. And this is what I say. At the end of the day, you can't build the infrastructure that the DART organization has built and then think that, I'm just going to pick up one day and pick up everything and leave Cayman. So the amount of investment into the hundreds of millions of dollars easily that have been made in this country by quote unquote DART, right? I think is a significant investment, and it has really helped the construction industry. Is one of the leading industries in the Cayman Islands. Once these projects slow down, and I understand that they're actually, after this year, there's no major projects in the DART organization after they finish the hotel, they finish those 2 buildings. There really aren't any major projects coming up in terms of construction projects. So you guys are going to see how much those construction projects actually contribute to the economy, construction workers, and you might be thinking to yourself, well, Sandy, a lot of those construction workers are probably foreign nationals, but guess what? They need a place to stay. They need grocery stores to sleep in. They need grocery stores to shop in, and all of these other things. And all of that happens, and all of that helps the Cayman economy. They support Caymanians, who are the ones who are renting them facilities and rooms and whatever. So it's really something to think about, and it'll be interesting to see how it impacts the overall economy here in the Cayman Islands. So let's just hear what else Mario had to say. And this clip was repurposed and shared. Somebody sent it to me. And that's the only reason why I'm addressing this. I haven't really listened to anything else. I heard he made some really scathing remarks about the premiere and all sorts of stuff. He was really quite in his feelings yesterday. What is so funny, though, is him and Chris had a huge falling out. And I guess now they've kissed and make up. So he's going to be on Chris's side. I don't have time. And I say this even in relation to George. And, this is why I don't entertain certain people in my life. I do not have time for the kiss and make up back and forth sort of situation. I hate it, actually. And if you know anything about me, especially in my personal life, you will know that I despise, I have some friends who are constantly making up to break up, make up with their boyfriends, break up. And I can't keep up with the status of their relationship. And they'll notice that after a while, I actually stop asking. I don't ask, and I don't care, because my personality is so averse to the back and forth in relationships. I just can't, I don't like that sort of thing. I don't like it in my friendships. And, if I'm going to break up with you as a friend, you better believe that we breaking up for real and we are done. And I've had some epic breakups with friends. And, there's no going back for me. And, sometimes I have gone back and I said, you know what? The value of this friendship to me in my heart was more than whatever this argument was about. Because, over time, you're like, what were we even fighting about? And, you choose to just move past it. And when you have friends that are really ride or die, you can have disagreements that don't have to be relationship ending. I think what happens in the world of politics, to be quite frank, is there's a lot of fake relationships. You can't trust these people. They're really not your friends. They're convenient, what we call fair weather friends, fair weather people. So, they ride with you when they think that you have something to offer them, and vice versa. Some people ride with them because it's what they can get. I'm not really interested in that type of a situation. And if I genuinely like someone, they will know it. And if I don't like them, they will also know it. And, I think that it's okay to accept that I'll never be friends with Mario. And that doesn't mean that we can't see each other. I saw him last week at the coffee shop. We had a nice pleasantry, a moment, saying hi. And I think that was his son with him. I'm not really sure. He can be charismatic. Not being friends with someone doesn't mean that there has to be any animosity. You can say hi, you can say good morning, and just keep it moving, honey child. Mario and I, not Mario, what's the one? George and I will never be friends. I'm never going to sit down with George and break no bread with him. I'm not interested in your lunch date invitations. He claims the invitation is always open. He seems, for whatever reason, to really, really, really want to have lunch with me. We don't have to do that. It's not necessary. It's not required. The world continues to rotate without it, and it's perfectly fine. You have your circle of people, you've got your church friends, although I saw he posted he's looking for a new church. I'm not sure what happened to the church in Prospect that he was attending, but just do you. It's quite all right. Let's see. There's a couple more seconds, I think, in this clip. And we do have a guest as well. Tiz is going to be joining us this morning. So as soon as she gets into the office, she'll be joining us.
Fine.
Well, he did such a poor job of the funneling of the money that the Caymanians, his own people, were so pissed off at him that they took it out on his vehicles and they torched. Y'all remember the story? Mm-hmm. See, I wasn't around then, so maybe you didn't get all the details, but they torched his trucks Why were they torched?
This is Sandra. We all know it. She's a 3-time convicted liar. So, okay, we get it.
So you see now, when someone says you're a 3-time convicted liar, right? This is where most people would be sending him some documents today, but I'm not going to mess with Mario because I think the vast majority of people in this country realize what Mario is. Even the people who were on his little COVID anti-vaccine bandwagon ordinarily would not even blow breath at Mario. They wouldn't say kahoo in his direction because they know. 3-time convicted liar. Mario, the only person who has a dishonesty offense, a conviction between you and I is you. Let us set the facts straight. I have never been 3 times convicted liar. My God. What a mess. Poor Mario. Anyway, he couldn't get it right. And I think it was kind of funny that he was trying to tell me that I need to get my facts straight. And here he is repeatedly saying something that is completely wrong and erroneous. And, the more you repeat it, Mario, doesn't make it correct and doesn't make it right. I think even his dislike of the premiere, it's unfortunate. And I want to remind you what that stems from, because again, I was just telling you how people have a way of using each other. When Mario was starting up his platform, what's it called? Word of mouth. He actually went to the premiere because he didn't even have $500, $5,000. He probably didn't have $500 either to get his platform started. So he went to the premiere begging money. Let me be very clear. And I think I want to thank my husband and, God really for me never having to be in a position to beg anybody for money to start up CMR. When we got started, and I've always said this, CMR is a passion and not a paycheck. Now it pays some bills because, we eventually got to pay some bills. We got staff and people who have to get paid. But I was so fortunate to have other relatively successful businesses that I could rely on to pay my bills and to fund CMR. The first year, I didn't do anything to attract any advertising whatsoever. Nothing. I'm like, this is about building a community platform. This is about, providing information to the people of this country. This isn't about the dollar signs. And so I didn't have to run to Premier Wayne Panton and ask him for seed money to get a talk show going. I didn't have to do that. Mario did. And Wayne, being the kind-hearted person that he is, and maybe a little bit foolish-hearted as well, gave him $5,000 to get started. And I'm sure other people donated to the cause as well. I know that one for a fact. And so, unfortunately for Wayne, he thought that this is a young man who hadn't been working. And somebody is asking to please remind people this is Mario Rankin that I'm speaking about. Thank you. I will definitely clarify. You guys know who Mario is, right? Mario Rankin. He, let me put up the picture now so you know which Mario we talking about, honey chair. But yes, he, this is the same one who cussed out the governor. Y'all remember during the pandemic how he went off on the governor? He did this viral voice note. And the police were thinking about charging him for that. I think eventually they didn't because the governor just wanted it to be left alone. Like he couldn't even be bothered. But this man is so vulgar that, he said stuff about the governor's wife. I was just like, wow. And that's one of the reasons that he's pissed off at me even this day, because I went on record and said that that type of behavior is completely disgusting and should never be tolerated in this community. He lied about the governor's wife getting on some special flight to get off the island, and it was just ridiculous. And then after the whole fallout from the situation, he doubled down in his group because it was a voice note that he sent out within his group. Let me share the link to remind you all. What he then did was he went and decided to threaten people in his group about who leaked this video. How did this voice note get out? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. When you say certain things, and I can't play the audio note on air because it is it's shocking. I'm going to put the link in here. You guys can go and listen to it for yourselves. But it is very, very shocking what he had to say and completely disrespectful. And even people who were in he sent it in his, he's part of this group. What's it called? The ones that were doing the petition. Against the port. Anyway, he was part of that group. And so he sent that out. And of course, it went viral for many reasons, but really because of exactly what the voice note was saying. And so, people were taken aback by the disrespect. Caymanians, generally speaking, are very respectful people. Even when they don't like you or you have a difference of opinion, Caymanians are not typically the people who get in your face and act belligerent and go on like they're crazy people. That's not normally who we are. There are some exceptions when you can really flip somebody the wrong way, but there's some people who that is their constant personality, right? That's what they do all the time. And so I find that Mario just happens to be one of those people. And I think a lot of it is he's overcompensating for something that is lacking in some department or another. You can leave that to your imagination. Sometimes when people themselves feel like they have fallen short in life, they overcompensate in the most bizarre and crazy ways, right? And, it's like some people call it the short man syndrome or the short in the bedroom syndrome. Those are the people who always walk around with a certain bravado and you're like, boy, yeah, look at that swag. And then the performance is like lackluster and you're like, okay, now we see why they have to put up that feather. What's the bird called? They're very pretty. There's a couple of them here that are wild, I think. The peacock. The peacock, it's always the men that go out trying to attract women with all the flaring colors. And they're going around with their little peacock tail, trying to impress people and look good. Well, child, that's because they have to work overtime because they're probably not really offering a whole lot to the female peacocks, right? And I kind of get the feeling with certain people, Mario is kind of one of those people. He always has to be like a little bit extra, and it's like, why? Just be yourself, be low key, he's in your face and, I got to do this and I got to be the flashiest in the house. And, I got to have all these flashy cars that I really can't afford. He's talking about having to pay out people. Well, Mario, be careful now because, there's something called offshore alert. And if I go and Google Mario Rankin's name, I can see the lawsuits that you have been involved in. And I can see you doing foolishness that I would never do and that I've never been a party to, including how you borrowed money. And let's speak facts now. This was reported. The lawsuit is there. How you borrowed money from Joanna Brown of Celebrations and didn't pay the money back. And not only did you not pay the money back, but what you put up for collateral was one of your highfalutin cars, because again, that's more important than anything else, I suppose. And so, that lawsuit is out there. Did you ever pay her back her money? Because she had to take you to court in order to try and get her money back because you were refusing to pay that. He's talking about facts and, let's talk about the facts. So the facts are, I don't know how that case ever got resolved, but the facts are that you also borrowed government money, CIDB money to the tune of $1 million. Yeah, just a little shy of $1 million because I sat down and read the case file myself and I was quite shocked at what I was reading. Put up his wife's family land. This is the caliber of people that we're talking about that have the audacity to think that they can address me with inaccurate information. You see, like I said, a lot of times there's a lot I don't say. And yes, it wasn't about Mario, but Mario, since you said you want to make it about you, then let's make it about you, right? So you go and borrow government money because this is when you're up in UDP and up Makiba's behind, like a bad boil and kissing his rear end left, right, and center. We remember those days, right? And you got a loan, which no doubt there's political interference, in my opinion, for you to get that kind of loan. Put up your wife's family land as collateral, the land that forms part of your family home, and then you default on the loan. You don't pay a single dime back. Who on earth does that? You talking about me? I have to pay people money, and I had to pay people no money. But you borrow $1 million from people and don't pay it back. And to be very clear, this is the people's money. CIDB, that's a government facility. That is our money. Okay? So talk the facts, honey child. If you really want to talk the facts, then talk the facts. Did you ever pay that back? Whatever happened to that? I suspect CIDB has not pursued it and they just wrote it off as bad debt. Yeah. Jeopardize your poor wife. And we're not going to get into the other ways in which you jeopardize that poor woman and what she's had to put up with from you over the years. And you see, he's so duplicitous, right? Because Mario Rankin is the type of person who, when he was caught, another DUI, he wants to talk about court cases. Ask Mario how many court cases he's had for DUI. Why is he always drinking and driving and crashing? You got a little tipsy problem, right? Because the last time it happened, and CMR was around then, and we were going to report it, this very same Mario Rankin that think he can step to me with an attitude was on the phone begging and pleading with me not to report on this case because he was going to lose his daughter. And poor me, like a fool, was sitting here being hoodwinked and believing the foolishness that Mario was bringing to the table. Because you see, I got a little soft spot in my heart, especially when it comes to children. So when he's like, oh, you know, the first thing he tried was the whole political thing. Like, oh, they're coming after me because of, you know, I'm part of this, what was the group he was about the petition, whatever the people for port, whatever the heck his group was called, him and Johan, right? Oh, they coming after me because of politics. And I said, hold on. I said, oops. I said, stop the foolishness now, Mario. Nobody comes to you and forces you to drink and drive. No one is plunging you with liquor. I need to hear some accountability here or this story is going to run. So then that didn't work because he was claiming, oh, you know, we're just about to have the referendum and this is going to distract from that. Well, how is that my concern? You are the one. Oh, I have somebody who keeps calling. Let me see. Morning. Are you trying to get on air? Oh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh, so you owe that money too. Lord Jesus. Thanks for the info. Yep. Another person calling to say Mario owe them money too, and he better try and pay up. Well, Mario, you better go through your debt register, honey child. The people them have the receipts that you owe them money, you know. Pay them their money. That's all I can tell you. You over here worrying about what I'm saying. You better worry about what you're doing to people. So, you know, yeah, he was begging and pleading me, oh, Sandy, please don't put this up. This is going to impact the people for port referendum or whatever the hell it was called. And I said to him, I said, but that's not my concern. You go out there behaving badly when you're part of this group. Do you not understand that that's going to impact whatever you are doing in the community? So then he switched up on me and he said, well, yes. Yes, Sandy, you're right. You're right about that, you know. Because see, you when you step to me, you have to come with a sincere heart and from an honest position, right? You cannot be telling me foolishness and think I'm going to fall for it just so. So then he's like, oh yeah, you know, Sandy, you're right. Yeah, I got to stop drinking. I really must stop drinking. I said, all right, now you're talking some sense. But you know, I got this baby with this girl. You know, her family don't like me already, and they're gonna try and take this baby away from me if they hear that I'm in court again with another DUI and her father's a lawyer and this, that, next thing. And I was like, a baby with this girl? Well, who tell you must step on your wife and have this outside child? But then I thought about it and I said, oh my God, maybe he's a good father. I don't really know. Maybe he is a good father. You know what I'm saying? And so he should have access to his child. And so I don't want to do anything that would interfere with Mario Rankin's ability to see this child. And I don't know what's going on with these people, and I don't know what their beef is. I now could understand why they probably want the child to have limited access to him, to be honest. But, you know, he's still a child's father. Somebody still laid down with him, decided to get pregnant. So you have to make sure that he has access to the child. So anyway, that was how he hoodwinked me into not reporting about that latest DUI. And then when he went off on the governor, You know, because people are like, oh, Sandy, you going hard on Mario and he claiming you don't like him. I said, Mario, why you don't be honest with people? This has nothing to do with me liking you or not liking you. If I didn't like you, CPR, thank you, Belika. If I didn't like you, I would have printed the truth and the full story of your latest crash into the wee hours of the morning. And you need to stop drinking and driving. Okay? Because you've had several arrests for that. Even when he fell in his house, a lot of people suspected that he actually might have been having a moment where he was drinking and went up on the ladder trying to do house repairs, and he almost killed himself. And that was very, very serious. I felt very sorry for him when that happened, because trust me, he got a lick and a proper one in his head. Like, I'm a little bit surprised that he's still playing with half a deck. I mean, I don't think he got a full deck that he's playing with, but even the half a deck, in my opinion, when you fall on a concrete tile floor from that height, he is lucky to be alive. And, you know, whatever our differences are as Caymanians, you don't wish certain things on people. So, you know, Mario has people that care about him, and I hope that he recognizes that, including his wife, who he over the years has treated less than stellar, and that has allowed him to remain in the family home, even when he's out there having outside children and carrying on all these affairs and trying to be this big shot. Quite frankly, his wife has tolerated a lot with him over the years. She's a very lovely lady. Too lovely, some people might argue, for him, but that's between the two of them. And so, you know, she obviously, along with his children, would not have wanted anything to happen to him. And we don't want anything really to happen to Mario either, but I suggest he get it together. So Mario, somebody just called me on my personal phone to say you owe their family members money. Please find the money and go pay them. That's the best advice I can give you. So don't talk about people's dishonesty and their court cases, which you're getting completely wrong, when you yourself is a hot mess. Miss Olive says, let me try and finish cooking my steamed fish with okra and dumpling, banana and yam. Yes, sir. The sauce live and direct, says Stefan. SJ says the sauce coming in. Well, we're going to have to pause the sauce. I see almost 500 of you are here. Y'all like a little, y'all are so shady. Y'all love it. Y'all are something else, you know. I tell you, Cece says he needs a life. Cameron says, what you say? Don't come talking foolishness to me. That's some Socrates level type-ish. Oh, Cameron say, oh, let's give him a break. That's the problem. He's been getting too many breaks. What does Mario do even? What does he do for a living? What does he do for work? You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude. Oh, Morna said we should call him. No, we have a guest in the studio, and our guest are VIP, very important person. Miss Tiz is here. So let's, now don't y'all be logging off just because Tiz is here, you know. 478 of you online right now. If I see one person leave, you're going to be demoted. Continue to listen. Tiz is only going to be with us for a short time. Then we're going to hear the apology voice note from poor George. I hope George gets the help that he needs. And listen, like I said yesterday, it's like I took a handful of pebbles and I threw it in the pig pen. And who came squealing? Mario, Rankin, even Steve. Steve, oh Lord have mercy. I got to get these names right. Frank McField came jumping out of the woodworks and had a live stream last night. Hear the sus now. You want to hear something? Shh. Don't tell nobody I told you this, Naina. Who was at the bar last night? South Coast Bar. Alden McLaughlin. Sir Alden still hanging out at South Coast Bar. And he had CMR all in his mouth. And he had Sandra Hill all in his mouth about yesterday's show. Alden, Sir Alden, are you a fan of the program? It sounds to me like you listen. Oh my gosh, you just gave me the warm fuzzies all inside of my little heart. I want to give you a hug this morning. And he had a lot to say, honey child, about, oh, that Sandra, you know, she got Pat government elected, all kind of stuff. Child, I get information as it's happening. Y'all ever wonder how I get information? Y'all just have no clue. I have eyes and ears everywhere. What about that group of men that was meeting at Georgetown Yacht Club yesterday? I wanted to be a fly on the wall to find out what they were meeting about. And I got message one of them this morning, and I give y'all no names yet, but I got message one this morning said, what was this all about? And of course, Mr. Roy McTaggart, he was on with Rejma yesterday. She had all of 10 people watching her. Good. That's an improvement over the 2 that she normally has in the evening. Remember now her show is midday. And so they changed the time and everything. So the leader of the opposition was there saying that, he expects the government and the premier to tell him what this is all about. Why the cabinet reshuffle? Well, I think it's fair to say, folks, that Premier Panton is not going to get into any of the details that I did yesterday. And some of it I can understand why, especially the stuff about the sexual harassment. I think he's very, very keen to try to protect those victims. We haven't said anything that discloses who they are, except that they're civil servants, which is like thousands of people it could potentially be. But I think it's really, really unfortunate. I think that the list of people who probably have officially complained, it's a much broader list, but some Caribbean women are going to just tell you, listen, you better leave me alone and stop sexually harassing me. And then if they persist, they just ignore it. They're not going to file an official complaint. So, it's a really, really sad indictment. But I think the premier is keen to just move on. Him and his government have a lot of work to do. Yes, sir, you do. And so he's just keen to get on with it. And dwelling in what has been 2 years worth of bad behavior, how does that further the situation? Well, from the perspective of the opposition, it's a good thing. They want to hear all the details because they're probably in talks right now with Chris Saunders telling him to come on over to the dark side. El Rey says word of mouth crowdsourcing. George says, you are the master of information, honey chill. Siobhan says, I do wonder how you get your information, but I figure you have your ways. And I sure do. Cameron, good morning, says we might be second place citizens, but if SUS was an Olympic sport, we would be gold every 4 years. Oh, Lord have mercy. Yes, sir. Anne says, well, they all listen. They have to. She has a big laugh about that. Yes, child. I can imagine Al. Then he'd probably be drinking when he's listening. He's like, oh, I can't take this Sandy with no coffee or tea. Get me something stronger. Oh my goodness. All right, let's go ahead and bring Tiz into the conversation this morning. The beautiful Tiz Romano, she's over at Recover. Good morning, Tiz. How are you?
Good morning, Sandy. I'm just getting over a nasty cold, so my voice might be a little bit nasal, but
yes.
What can you do?
Yeah, you sound okay. Are you mic'd up today?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Looking good, looking good. Well, Tiz comes once a month from Recover, which is a personal injury law firm. And, she's here to educate us really about what your rights are. So it's very, very important to listen. Last time we had such a fascinating conversation about contributory negligence. So what are we going to be talking about today, Tiz? What have you got on tap for us?
So a really actually important topic that is coming up more and more, we're finding, is that people get into an accident and then find out there's no insurance to cover them. So I just wanted to dive into that topic a little bit more and explain why insurance companies are taking those positions and what maybe some changes that we can make to make it more fair for people who are injured.
So how is this happening? How can you think you have coverage and then not have coverage?
So there's many reasons insurance companies can give you to not provide coverage when you think that you're covered in an accident. So you hit somebody, and if you don't report the accident to your own insurance company, they will not open a claim until you fully cooperate with them. And that means giving them your logbook and your registration and all the information that they require in order to open up a claim. So we've had instances where people hit somebody and they're in a rush and they just give them a business card and then say, call me later. Call me and let me know how much your vehicle damages, and I'll get rid of the claim my own way. Obviously, that's incorrect. The police should be called, the report should be made, and the insurance should engage. That's why we have insurance.
So, in other words, if you procedurally, I mean, this sounds really like a minor thing to me, but if you don't do what the insurance company says that you're supposed to do when you're in an accident, when it happens, that could lead you to not be able to make a claim.
Yes, it could lead them to take an off coverage position.
Oh my God.
So then you're left without insurance, and the other person has a choice to come after you directly for any injuries and losses and damages to their vehicle.
Wow.
So that's one example.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Another one is,
are we finding, can I just ask you a question about insurance companies in Cayman? Are we finding more and more, because I'm seeing some very interesting things kind of coming to the surface, that insurance companies are trying to fight claims, like they don't want to pay out? I mean, it's crazy, but if I pay, I mean, I can think about probably count on one hand the number of accidents, thankfully, that I've been in, right? But I'm paying every single year. I pay my insurance premiums. I'm paying, depending on the vehicle, the value of the vehicle, whatever, sometimes thousands of dollars for the year. If I miss a payment or I miss a beat, I don't have any coverage, so you got to keep on top of it. And the one time that something happens that I might actually need my insurance company to pay out, you're saying to me that they might actually be fighting me and not wanting to pay? Oh my God.
And you got to remember, they are a business. They're out there to make profits. So they're happily take everyone's premiums, every year and collect those religiously. However, when it's time that you need them, they are entitled to look at the policy and look at the coverage and look at all the minor details and see if there's a way for them not to cover you. And there's many, many ways. We only touched on one so far.
Wow. Okay.
So we can keep going.
So let's be very, very clear. When you get in an accident, even if the other person says to you, oh, don't call the police, let's just exchange phone numbers, you're taking a risk.
Yes.
So you would recommend always call the police?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you can take their phone number and then try to call them and they don't return your call and they just disappear. And then what?
Right.
At least if the police is involved, they know to do a report and get all the details, all the information about the car, the drivers involved, their insurance information, personal details, all of that.
Okay. All right. Good tip. So how else are they trying to fight the claims of good people?
So we've seen cases where they've taken an off coverage position because of the fact the person put a muffler or changed their car, like, scoop it up, make it cooler without their permission.
So modification.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Without letting the insurance company know about that.
Oh,
that's
my
another
God.
reason why.
Okay. And does it have to be any particular type of modification? So if it's like a cosmetic modification, like a light or something, can they be like that trivial about it?
I haven't seen it for a light, but I've seen it for a muffler.
Okay.
So depends.
Yeah.
Depends.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
So if you make any sort of modification to your vehicle, the correct thing to do is actually to inform the insurance company.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Just because you don't want to have any problems down the road. And they might say, that's not according to the standard here, and you shouldn't do it. Or they might say, well, this makes your car more expensive, and your premium might go up.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. You just don't know. That's why I love coming on here, because it certainly makes me think hard.
Another reason why they can take an off coverage position is if you by accident didn't pay your renewal in time. So I don't know about your insurance company, but mine certainly does not chase me for payment when it's due. So if you don't stay on top of it, make a note in your calendar, or have some sort of reminder system and your insurance lapses, and then the next day you get into an accident, guess what? There's no coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always good to double check your policies, see when they're up for renewal, make sure that you're putting in your payments on time so that there is no lapse in a policy. So just in case anything ever happens, you're always covered.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You know, I gotta tell you something. I kind of got caught by that once, and it has made me hyper vigilant about just really paying attention to when these things are due. Because just quite innocently, I missed a date, and I had always been relying on my insurance company to kind of remind me that, okay, your premium is due. And I think there was a change in staff or something, and I missed the date. And here I was driving around without coverage and didn't know. And I think I got pulled over like to get a ticket. And then they're like, oh, where's your insurance? I'm like, here you go. And it was like, oh boy. Oops. And that's an automatic suspension for 12 months. It was the hardest 12 months of my life.
Really?
All this Cayman is, you need your own ride. I'm sorry to say, but it is hard to get around. Oh God, that's when you really knew who your friends were. Trying to call a friend for a ride. They'd be like, yeah, I'll get to you 5 hours later.
Oh, that's horrible.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not. And since then, I'm like, oh, put it. Oh my goodness, put it in the calendar. Oh, hold on, we got somebody calling. 1 second. Let me plug this into the board. I'm like, put it in the calendar, triple check it, double check it. Give them automatic payment information, whatever it takes. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. Uh-oh. Hold on. I can't hear you. Let me just replug this in. I was just charging the phone a little bit this morning. Hello, caller.
Yes, Sandra.
Hi, morning.
Morning. One quick question. I just realized or heard that your guest actually said if it's even a minor accident to call the police. What about when you call the police or call 911 and they ask, is anyone injured? And you say no. And they say, is any major damage? You say no. They say, okay, just exchange. They actually tell you to exchange numbers. So who's taking blame for that part? If it's a minor accident, just a little fender bender, a little bumper to bumper, they ask you on the phone, is anyone injured? If no one is injured, just exchange numbers and deal with your insurance. This has happened before.
So what would you recommend, Tiz, if you call?
That's a really good question. Thanks for calling in. The thing is when you're in an accident, you go into automatic shock because you're not expecting it, and your adrenaline kicks in.
Yes.
And the last thing you're thinking about is, oh my goodness, am I hurt? You're thinking about what just happened? What do I do? I'm panicking. Who do I call? And sometimes a lot of times the injuries start developing overnight and into the next day. So at the time, you may not be hurt. You may say, I'm not hurt. I'm not sure. But that's like not a good reason to avoid the police coming to the scene. Now, if you're really not hurt, like if it was a tap, for example, right? A tap in the back of your car, sure. Get information, exchange information, but also take pictures and like document that it actually happened, because getting a phone number is not enough to track down a person. You need to get all the details of their car, of their insurance company, their name, where they work, so that you can locate them if they happen to disappear afterwards.
Yes.
And then deal with the insurance company.
And again, I want to stress to everyone, get a dash cam.
Yes.
Right? This is important. I can't tell you how people will lie when you're in an accident. I mean, I've had this happen before. And of course I called the police because the person was coming the wrong way. But then afterwards they tried to change up the narrative and, oh, this really wasn't my fault. And if I didn't have that police report to say, actually, it is your fault. You're not supposed to be crossing over essentially 4 lanes of traffic to go through the exit of the gas station. People just get very, very creative when they realize that they have to pay to fix your vehicle.
Yes.
And they don't always have, they themselves don't always have insurance, or they don't want to make a claim on their insurance because then their premium is going to go up.
Exactly.
So Amir says that it's the deductible that they kill you with. And Cameron says, oh, that was unrelated. Elway says insurance companies always look for ways to not pay out, which is kind of sad, like I said, because we pay for years often, and you might make 1 or 2 claims in the lifetime of that policy. Eddie says, what does changing your vehicle muffler have to do or does to your vehicle that voids your insurance?
It's not that it does anything to your vehicle. It's just that they can use it as an excuse not to cover you because you didn't tell them that you did that.
Now, someone who works for an insurance company says the question is on their proposal form in terms of if the vehicle's been modified. But I think what happens is people might get the policy and the modification comes later, and they don't think about the fact that they should notify the insurance company. And this person confirms that if it's the client's responsibility to notify us, because as they say, that's a reason to deny the claim, and the modified car is not the car that was insured, they would have signed the form stating that it wasn't modified. So very, very interesting. And then another person says, in the cases where you're told to exchange details, get a copy of their driver's license and insurance certificate while at the scene. So that's a bit of good advice as well.
And that's really easy to do. You just take out your phone and take a photo. You don't have to start writing anything down.
Very good advice. And of course, Joseph says, take photos of the vehicles. Again, get a dash cam. In fact, I'm going to do something, here on the Cold Hard Truth, we love to give away prizes. We're always giving away stuff. I mean, all the time. So I'm going to give away a prize today, and you guys are going to be surprised because it's actually a really good prize. I have these on all of our vehicles. And so I am going to do you all a solid this morning, and we're going to give away a 3-camera dash cam. Now listen to this. This is a good prize. This is good money that we're spending on y'all. So this is a 3-channel 4K dash cam. So you have a 1080p front and rear camera, and you have a 1440p front and inside camera. So this is a 3-way car camera. You got the back, the front, and the interior. You've got infrared night vision, 24-hour parking. You have a capacitor, and you have to get like the little memory card. I'll leave that for you guys to put in it. But it does have a 24-hour parking mode. So if people bump into you in the parking lot and whatever, it will record that as well. This is a couple $100.
Cool. I want to win, Sandy.
I know, right? So what we're going to do, we're not going to make it too easy. We're going to talk about, we got some spammers in the conversation today. We're going to talk about last time Tiz was on the show. She talked about a particular area of law, because I got to make sure y'all are paying attention now. She talked about a particular area of law. Give us an example of how that could work. So in other words, if I did this and this would be this example of the area of law that she talked about last time. That's a good question, right? If you know the answer, and I mean, there's numerous examples that you could give. 943, you got to call it in. 936, my apologies, Bobo. 936-2626 is the telephone number. Win yourself a 3-camera dash cam. Now you got to get it installed yourself. I can't help you with installation, but I can give you the number of my install guy, and he'll get you all hooked up. So who's gonna win it today? Go ahead and give us a call. I don't know where we're getting these Facebook spammers from, but I'm deleting and blocking them as quickly as I can. All right. First caller up, who's going to give it a try. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning. Is it me?
Is it you?
No, Mr. Kim, I'm on the air.
Oh, yes, you're on air.
Okay, we were talking about the crosswalks and stuff the last time.
Okay, so what was the topic, the sort of general area of law that we discussed last time? You mentioned it at the beginning of this program. So
accountability. I think it's like accountability for something when it comes to the crosswalk.
No. We got you. You got to be precise today to win that good prize, honey child.
All right. Good.
Try again. All right. So nope, that's not it. You got to tell me the specific area of law, and then give an example. This y'all are in class now. You got to pay attention to class.
I love it.
Rewarded in the class if you're paying attention. So Denny's asking if that's the equivalent of fraud on the part of the insurance companies. So that's interesting. Siobhan says, I've got to sit this one out because this is the first time I've seen her. Good luck to everyone else. What? Tiz is here every month. All right, Greg says having insurance issues is useless. Insurance companies are a criminal enterprise. The government has allowed to extort money from the public. They don't pay like they're supposed to. Hurricane Ivan is a big example. They got away scot-free. Good morning, caller.
Weren't you talking about understanding contribution negligence?
You're close. Shall we give it to her, Tiz, on the name?
Just to give an example.
Contributory negligence. All right. And give us an example of contributory negligence.
When you're not paying attention to a cyclist crossing, the cyclist wants to give the fault all to the driver instead of him taking responsibility. One, paying attention to the road, looking at both sides. There was a lot that she went through.
Sounds like you were paying attention, honey child.
Yes.
So congratulations. You are the winner of a Vantru N4 3-channel 4K dash cam. So now you can be safer on the roadways of the Cayman Islands.
Thank you.
Now, I don't have the prize on me. It's in my Amazon order. So I'm hoping to make a quick trip up to Miami soon. So, yes, let me write down your number. Hold on, honey child. Where's my pen? Oh Lord, I can never find a pen when I need one. All right, Tiz, continue. Talk about today's topic, and I'm just going to jot down your number real quick.
Sure. So going back to why insurance companies can take the position that they don't have to insure you. Another reason for that is if you didn't report any previous accidents that they've now come to find out you were involved in.
So what do you mean? Like if there's something that I didn't report because I didn't need to make a claim?
So if you, let's say example, you rear-ended someone and you were in a rush and you just give them your number and said, call me, I'll fix it. Or, you don't need to go to the police or don't worry about it. And then they go and make a claim and the insurance company finds out that you were involved in the accident, but you didn't tell them about it, right? Because again, going back to that form that they make you fill out, when you're applying for insurance and also when you're renewing it, have you been in any prior accidents? And you write no. And then there happened to be one. They can use that as a reason not to cover you.
That's interesting. Okay. Wow. They look like they're looking for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, there's a lot of loopholes.
So someone has a question on WhatsApp. They said, can you ask her, what if you have full insurance and you meet in an accident and your passenger is hurt? Why is the insurance company saying that they're not responsible? So how does that work?
It depends on how the accident happened. So if you are driving and you have a passenger and you cause an accident, the passenger is allowed to make a claim against you because you were at fault. If your passenger was in your car and you got hit by someone who was in the wrong, the passenger has to make the claim against the other person, not yourself.
And if the other person doesn't have any insurance coverage?
If the other person doesn't have any insurance coverage, you're screwed.
Wow. That's crazy.
So comprehensive coverage is different in every insurance company. Some cover everything. Some only cover repairs to the vehicle, your own vehicle. So this is again why you have to really clearly understand what your policy says, and then maybe meet with a representative and just go through it. Like, what happens if this? Do I have coverage? How can I get better coverage?
Wow. Unbelievable. So El Rey says, prior accidents, how far back?
Within the last time you renewed it and you filled out the form, right? Because then they would have your history on file.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
I got more reasons. Should I keep going?
Yes, absolutely. This is so fascinating. I feel like we're being linked by insurance companies for sure.
So say you have a vehicle, it's insured, it's under your name, and the policy says any adult over 25, right, can drive your car.
Yes, that's, yep.
Right, that's standard.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, a friend or a relative of yours takes your car, and without permission, there's no insurance.
Wow. Because I guess the theory is that you have to secure your car, but I can see where, even if you have kids in your home, maybe they're of driving age, they might decide to go out for a little joyride. You can't lock up the key 24/7, from someone who's in your household. So that's interesting. Huh. Okay. You got to make sure you read those policies, folks, and know what you're getting into. Most of us are just so happy to get a car and get insurance. How many of you have honestly, this is a question, call me if you have, because I suspect most of you have never read your policy. How many of you have actually read your policy and you know what your policy says? If you haven't, I think the takeaway today from Tiz is definitely go away and read your policy. And if you have any questions about it, speak to your insurance company.
I'd love to know how many people in your audience today are over 75, because that's another reason why they could deny you. If you're over 75 and you're still driving, you better make sure you have the proper coverage on your car, because we had a client recently who was hit by an 80-something-year-old, and the guy thought he was insured. He had insurance coverage. However, it only covered him until 75 years old. So no insurance again.
But they were taking his money.
Yeah.
And the policy said coverage only till 75, and nobody said to him, sir, you're 80. So therefore, this coverage that you've been paying for the past 5 years isn't going to cover you? Wow.
Yes. Just wow.
That's crazy. So Greg, I'm agreeing with you. He says, keyword screwed. The public is screwed, not the insurance companies. Oh my gosh. I'm kind of shocked by that, because you think the insurance company would tell you if you're not eligible, not just take your money. That's wow. That one kind of surprises me. Okay. So again, if you've got elderly, and there are a lot of elderly people who continue to drive in their senior years. So folks, again, check your policy. Al Ray says, read what? Clearly he's not read his policy. Has anybody read their policy? Do they know what you're in for? I didn't think about that before, that there might be an upward limit. Now I know about the 25.
Right.
25. So we've got a caller to the program. Good morning, caller. Any of this shocking you here today?
No, and I have not read my policy either, like as in details. But I want to say something. There's a way that you could fight the insurance too, because after Ivan, a car that I possessed at the time got damaged or flooded, and they tried to dupe me on payment because they had my car insured like for $10,000, and they wanted to pay me like $4,000 because they're telling me it was older than what it was, and it shouldn't have been fully comprehensive, so they should have been third party. So, you know what my reply was to them? Well, I have your letterhead in black and white. I'm paying the premium on what my car is supposed to be valued at. And they're telling me, oh, I have to read the fine print at the bottom that says every year that your car depreciates, you're supposed to go in there to check out. And they're supposed to value your premium by that, So they're just robbing people here because nobody tells you that. And at the end of the day, when I got a lawyer involved, they had to pay me every penny that my car was insured for, because they were charging me my premium on that. So there are ways that you have to get your money. You just got to, like they say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So we just got to learn these things, that we could fight these policy people, because they aren't the last say at the end of the day. Everybody has money to answer to. And if they're just taking your money in false pretense, even like that 80-year-old guy who they were charging insurance for, they should have been in court and they would have had to pay because they're charging you. So that's like accepting my stuff by deception. I forget what the term is. You can't do that. That's a law. You can't do that. So you can't take my money and telling me that I am insured, and when an accident do happen, sorry, sir, you passed 75. 80, that's 5 years ago. So 5 years I've been paying you a premium for false belief. So who answers to that? So that's my safe again for the morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I mean, I think this conversation is getting people to really think. An elderly gentleman is commenting via WhatsApp, and he says that re-insurance coverage, there can be no modifications to the vehicle other than the replacement of genuine parts. Example, adding nitro equipment or updating the lights from one to another, even changing the color. Changing the color too? You have to tell them about that? Oh my gosh. They say re-age, to my knowledge, the person needs to be certified by a physician if they are older. Wow. Oh my goodness. George says insurance companies, please make the exclusion and other clause attractive to read. That's why a lot of people don't read them. Again, if the document is complicated, who wants to read it? Because we're not going to understand it anyway. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning, Sandy. It's me again.
Morning, my dear.
The last time I'm 75 years old, and last time I got my insurance renewed, they told me I had to get a medical from a professional doctor because you get a lot of quacks out there will give you anything. And that's what I did. I went ahead and then after I got my medical, I went and had it licensed, and no problem. I don't know. Of course, I never read my contract. Of course, that's a detriment to your health. You know, so a lot of people don't even read the contract because the only people that truly understand these contracts is an attorneys that write these laws, write these contracts.
Yes.
And it's sad. You know, the insurance companies want to come to the table and have a meeting with and letting people coming on the radio or your forum and say, listen, this is what you're going to get, and be honest, because the insurance companies, they will screw you right and left. That's like my wife in Hurricane Ivan. She had her house, her apartments, rent, paying policy, and then this guy from England comes up, the adjuster comes up, and he checks out the damages on it, and he went upstairs. She invited him upstairs to her apartment, and she says, "Okay, now you can sit down and tell me what's what." He writes for about 15 minutes on a piece of paper. And he says, well, you know, you're underinsured. Underinsured, that's another thing that a lot of people were getting screwed with. And Hurricane Ivan. And and she says, you know what? Oh, and he says, oh, well, you know what? Just come in 2 days. Now, first of all, when he got there, he says, oh, I'm going to be leaving in a week's time. 3 weeks later, she said, you know what? You're not going to screw me over because I've been paying on my policy. She got, and I can't remember the word for the person that actually
like the adjuster?
No, not the adjuster. Anyway, he was the adjuster, and she took her lawyer to the insurance company. I never had to call the insurance company. And she said, he guess what? 3 weeks later, he was sitting at the desk. Oh, you come to pick up the check? He says, no, I come to have you arrested for fraud. And she received, I think it was like $30,000 or $40,000 because she's honest. My wife is an honest woman, and she didn't want any problems at all. It's putting more, and that's what happened. A lot of insurance got screwed because they put allowed people to put down more than what the damages were, and she didn't do that. Guess what? They paid her either $30,000 or $40,000 more than she had asked for.
All right. Thank you, caller. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
All right, my dear. Wow. Tiz, some of the stories that you hear about these insurance companies really makes me wonder how they're able to get away with some of this stuff. Ingrid says the companies are expert thieves. Oh my. Kevron is saying that there needs to be proper consumer protection, hardly any supervision or monitoring of these insurance companies to make sure that they're not screwing their customers. Let's talk about that a little bit, Tiz, because that seems to be a viable concern. Jonathan also says that this is the equivalent of taking money by deception. Oh, we do have another caller. The phone lines are hot this morning. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy, and good morning to your guest. It's always very stimulating whenever she's on to discuss these things.
Yes.
Two short comments. You spoke earlier, and then she spoke earlier as well about the how the insurance companies can use an excuse of a little change, okay, to not to pay. I mean, as she knows, legally speaking, that change has to be something that is material. In other words, it is something that materially changes the basis upon which they insured you or the basis upon which they fixed the premium. A term she will be familiar with is that it must be something that vitiates the basis upon which initially the insurance was given or the amount set. But the second and last point is the one relating to the interesting point relating to when you pass the age limit. Now, the only way in which somebody maybe might argue is, well, look, if you are taking my money after I'm 75 years old, you can't deny me the claim because you can say, one, that it is unconscionable for the insurance company to take that money and then say, well, but there's this line which says that we can't cover you beyond 75. And then you could also argue that by implication, implicitly, if they take the money, they are waiving the right not to receive a claim beyond 75. Now, whether that argument would work in court or not is another thing, as your guest knows. But those are some of the arguments you could raise. Implicitly, it means yes, you had it there at 75 years or so, but you took my money beyond that, you are waiving that right. So those are some of the issues that people could argue. Otherwise, thanks very much. Very interesting again today this morning.
Thank you so much. So some good points there. And that's why Tiz is here, because she's obviously an attorney at law with lots of experience. And over the years, Tiz has probably seen a lot, maybe not everything, but she's seen a lot. And it's good to have that legal expertise on your side that can, if it comes down to that, argue on your behalf. And Tiz, do you find that people, when it's you versus the insurance company, that you get a very different response versus your lawyer versus the insurance company?
100%. Yeah, it's night and day. When you go to your insurance company and try to make a claim, they know that you don't really know what you're doing. You've probably never done it before, and you don't know really what you're entitled to, or what they are obligated to provide to you. So, and they take full advantage of that. They like it when you go to them on your own, because they can just tell you, this is the way it is, take it or leave it, and sign here, and your rights are extinguished.
Yes. Wow.
So that's why it's so important to just call us and for free and just run it by us. We can tell you, this is not a good idea, or yes, it's straightforward, don't worry about it. It's nothing, you can proceed. But usually insurance companies are very keen to deal with the people very quickly, independently, and get them get the claim closed as soon as possible in their books. It's just
and let's talk about that, Tiz, because I understand that the insurance companies, now that you guys are here and you're the first law firm in Cayman to offer this very unique thing after the law was changed of free consultations, no win, no fee concept. It seems like the insurance companies are getting a bit nervous, shall we say, that you're actually looking out for the consumers. And so one of the things that they've been doing that is very, very interesting is they're trying to get clients to sign quick time before you can think about what's happening and actually lawyer up and call Tiz and these guys at 924-9999, nice easy number. They get people to sign to an agreement before they can reach out to you. Talk a little bit about what's going on there.
So unfortunately, yeah, we've been hearing stories of clients who actually do come and see us, that insurance company representatives are calling them and having them come in and trying to convince them to sign off on their claim for a few bucks as quickly as possible, without them really understanding their rights or what they're entitled to or anything like that. And it's really unfortunate. And, some people fall for it because, they see a few dollars that could help them out in the short term, but then they don't think about the long-term repercussions when your injury, becomes something that is chronic and there's nowhere for you to go back and, claim any sort of long-lasting damages because you've quickly signed off and their insurance file is closed.
Wow. That sounds like, we had a scammer on the program that we were featuring that recently got arrested by the RCIPS. And one of her tactics that she was using, that's actually quite effective, is to rush people into a decision. Hurry up and give me your money. Give me your deposit. Somebody else wants the rental. And I was like, whoa, anyone that you see is rushing you in any transaction, that should be a red flag that you need to be cautious. Back up, pump the brakes, and slow down. So even if it's a company that's rushing you to do something, really ask the question, why? What's the rush? You're not rushing them, but they're rushing you. You need to think twice about it. So Christine has an interesting theory. She says, keep using lawyers and watch how much extra it will cost the insurance each year, which then causes them to raise rates. You think it's bad now. On a keep this trend up, you'll soon be driving around without insurance. So this is an interesting concept, that if you get professional legal advice and assistance, that insurance companies are going to take it out on you by increasing your rates. Is there any evidence to support that? I mean, obviously there are lawyers all over the world and other jurisdictions who look out for people all the time. That's not a concept that it might be new to Cayman that there's actually someone trying to fight for you when it comes to these insurance claims, but elsewhere in the world, that's the norm.
The problem is that the insurance companies here have been getting away with so much for so long. And all of that means profits for them, right? And so when there's I wouldn't even say there's an increase in claims. Maybe they have to chip in a little bit more to legal costs, but in the long term, like, they're investing their money and it's growing every year. So, I don't think that's a valid.
I think what drives up the insurance costs on this island is the number of accidents that we have. I mean, stop having so many accidents.
Exactly.
Those claims result in payouts. And that really is where, Christine, the money is going to impact your insurance premiums and your policies. That's a direct impact, to be quite frank and honest. Alejandro has a question. He says, what about when they hit someone on a bicycle? What's insurance responsibility of the driver? Sorry if I missed it or if you mentioned it already.
So I presume he's talking about if a collision occurs between a motor vehicle and a bicycle. Again, the dynamics of how the accident happened are very important. But in the majority of cases, I would say that the vehicle is going to be held mostly responsible, and there could be contributory negligence like we talked about on the last show. But the point is that you're in a car and the car is a box of metal that's around you and the other person is on a bike and hopefully is wearing a helmet, but nothing else protecting it. So you have to be very careful and very aware of your surroundings when you're driving, whether it's a cyclist, somebody on a scooter, a pedestrian, a child that's darting out into the road without knowing better. You just gotta always be alert for hazards around you when you're driving.
Wow. So interesting. All right. We have someone saying, of course, Greg is really upset. He says these insurance companies do whatever they want. They're counting in the fact that you are too poor to get a lawyer. And of course, that's why TIS is here, because you can go to Recover at no cost. They offer free consultations. They have a no fee, no win, no fee model, which means that they don't get paid until you recover your money and until you win. And that's really, really important. Now, talk about one of your success cases, Tiz. You were telling me a little bit about this recently, where someone had gone to another lawyer and the insurance company was willing to give them a payout. How much was the payout amount?
It was $5,000 or something in that ballpark.
And then when you guys got on board, what happened?
Well, we looked at the dynamics of the accident and realized that the client actually had a head injury that was not even looked at. And so we advised the client to get some treatment and see some doctors. And, we waited a little bit longer because the last thing we want to do is rush into a settlement when we don't know the effects of the injury on you and what they're going to be long term. This was a young lady. And we ended up settling her file for $40,000, which was a much more appropriate amount given the injuries. But when people are in a rush and they want a quick settlement, and the client didn't know any better. She wasn't advised properly, about what the actual value of her injuries were and, how to properly document them. And unfortunately, well, good for her that, it ended up into a better situation for her. But this stuff happens all the time. All the time.
And that's why we've got a caller calling in, but that's why having an experienced lawyer, and between Tiz and her partner, we're talking about over 50 years of experience in personal injury. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Oh, yeah, good morning. Are you still having the insurance discussion?
Yes, we are.
Okay. I just have a question because I heard your guest mention people riding on a scooter. So what in the world is going on with those? Because they're not a pedestrian, they're not a vehicle. They have no insurance for the occupant or the rider. It would their own insurance, I assume, would be some sort of personal liability or personal injury insurance if they're even covered for that. I know if you're on vacation, they probably would throw you to the wolves and say, "Too bad, idiot, you're on your own." But just because the whole my experience is with right away. So you're in a line of traffic, you're on West Bay Road, you're trying to turn into another business or a plaza, and a car on the other side of the road gives up right away. So they let you go through, and then some donkey on a scooter comes flying through at 30 miles an hour, and you either almost kill that person, or they go over the handlebars at a stopping rate of trying to avoid hitting you. I've seen this happen multiple times. How is that viewed as far as, again, your liability and your at fault and all that nonsense?
So this is a developing area of law because these scooters are relatively new. And so there's no well-established rules yet. It really depends on the circumstances of the collision, and what actions the scooter was taking, how fast the car was going, and all these other variables that come into play. But definitely the police should be involved and make a full investigation. Thankfully, there's a lot of CCTV camera footage that can be collected to kind of go back and see the dynamics of how the accident happened. But we've seen a lot of vehicles being at fault for those types of collisions with scooters. The scooters they don't have insurance. The actual I went up to the Bird scooter the other day just to see, and there's like a sticker on it says abide by the laws of your country. Well, there's no scooter laws in our country, so I think it's time that we get some.
That's I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Disappointed but not surprised that these things are available to ride without any actual framework for them to operate. But how? I mean, isn't there? I mean, how can the car be held? How can the driver, unless obviously there's some cases where it's blatantly you run somebody down, but if it's an incident like that where you've been given the right of way by another motor vehicle, and someone that is, if it was, I would be the same if it was a bicycle. A bicycle, if you're on the road, you have to abide by the rules of the road. So if the traffic is stopped, just because you're whizzing up the inside lane doesn't give you the right of way if someone's allowing you to turn or vice versa. You can't cut across 3 lanes of traffic just because you're on a bike. That's because these things are just going to continue to happen. These cases are just going to continue to pile up in this gray area. If their drivers are at fault, that just seems a bit of a backwards way to look at it.
And the issue is compounded by tourists who are not aware of like how we drive here. So they're just doing whatever they want on the roads, and you're kind of left.
In fact, I was just having a look at some news articles, and I came across one that says 2/3 of people in the UK are saying that they should ban these scooters completely, these e-scooters. And I think it is unfortunate because you can obviously see where if someone can't afford a vehicle, they offer an alternative mode of transportation, but they're so dangerous. And the scooter riders are not wearing a helmet. We just had a fatality, or last road fatality involved that poor gentleman who was on a scooter. Obviously, the driver has been arrested for suspicion of DUI, but he also wasn't, the young man in the scooter was not wearing a helmet. And so at the very least, I think the government needs to step up to the plate and look at how to make, if people are going to be using these scooters, how to make them safer. And a helmet should be an absolute requirement if you're going to get on one of these e-scooters, because they can move pretty fast, and pretty much anything can happen. You can hit a little bump in the road and fall off the scooter. Next thing you know, you've fallen right in front of a moving vehicle. They are very, very dangerous, and they offer no protection. And there's an article in one of the UK papers talking about how this poor guy almost had his foot severed in a scooter accident. And so again, 2/3 of British citizens are saying that they should be banned from public roadways, while 3/4 think a driving license and insurance should be a requirement to use a scooter. And this is according to a survey from the National Accident Helpline. So we do have another caller on the line. Caller, thank you for those comments.
I'm going to jump off. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks too. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm good. Still sipping that tea from yesterday. But anyways, I needed a drink after yesterday's discussion. Listen, quick question. I need to ask the young lady, what laws does this e-scooters, what traffic laws, or if any traffic laws that these,
That's the problem.
Where do
I guess they're being
these,
treated as bicycles, I'm not sure.
but they can't be because they're motorized, and even though anything under 50 cc's, you still need to require, if a bicycle or bicyclist requires to have a helmet. I think it's only safe for these motor e-scooters to have helmets, because you're going to be walking around, basically your head is a melon, and that's no competition to a car. So every time that someone's driving a vehicle or motor vehicle, they have to hold their breath when they come around these e-scooters, because the e-scooters basically have the right of anyway, regardless if they at fault or not, it seems like they have the land of the law.
Yes.
In a hand, almost like a politician.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think what the traffic law should state if you're going to bring something in and you're going to have it rented and you're going to have it rented, then wouldn't it be the owners on the person? Because if you rent a scooter, I remember working for Cayman Cycle Rentals years ago. When you rent a scooter, you had to sign just like if you rent a car, you have to sign a liability insurance and all that type of stuff. Where's the liability on I guess on the owners, the people who put these scooters out there? Because who knows who's someone that could drive it or get the scooter that has no ability of riding scooters. They just saw it and they just want to jump on it and ride it. And no training whatsoever. So it's like you putting a loaded gun down and expecting a child not to play with it.
Yeah.
So it is something to think about, because I've seen several times I came out of it, my child has said, "Oh, Dad, I won't go to school." I'm like, no, because you have no training.
Yeah.
And someone that's coming to the island that's driving on the right-hand side of the road is coming to an island that drives on the left-hand side of the road, where in the States you have to look one direction, now you have to look both directions. So the odds are against them and against us. So I just leave it with that.
All right. Thank you, caller. Lots of people in the comment section calling for legislation. Denver says these scooters are motor electric propelled vehicle, which should have insurance and they should be licensed. Donna says they need to be laws in place for these electric scooters and bicycles on the road. We have Colton says if there's no framework of law for them or operation rules, why are they legal? So that's a good question. Cameron says helmets, they be flying around without even lights at night. Facts. And that's a very, very dangerous situation to be using these e-scooters at night, because again, they don't have any lights or any way to illuminate that you're actually on them. Donna also says when we were kids, we used to pay $2 to license our bicycles to go on the road. Now we have even the electric ones and no insurance or laws to follow, all flying down on the opposite side of the road, and they should be going with the flow of traffic. So very, very interesting. Charlotte says the e-scooters are legal in the UK on the roads. I don't think that they are, Charlotte, because based on this, just 5 days ago, this article that came out talked about this survey, and it says two-thirds of Britons want them to be taken off the roads for good. And then here's another interesting article from a week ago. Bali, the country Bali, wants to ban foreigners from renting scooters and motorbikes as part of their behavior crackdowns. This sounds a little bit crazy, but according to them, foreign tourists could be banned from renting motorbikes and scooters on the Indonesian island of Bali as part of the local governor's push to crack down on traffic violations and bad behavior. So he has asked national authorities to ban all foreigners from hiring motorbikes after a spate of incidents such as an abuse of police by foreign riders, failing to wear helmets, and using fake number plates. My goodness. And Mr. Koster has urged travelers to only use transportation provided by travel agencies. So that's very, very interesting controls that they're trying to put in place. And they say so that the tourists have to travel using cars from travel agents. They're no longer allowed to use motorbikes or anything that is not from a travel agent. Wow, that's quite a crackdown. Caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Miss Sandy. How are you today?
Not bad, my dear. How are you?
Oh, I didn't know that you would have been around today after that show yesterday. Wow. But anyhow,
my goodness. Got to keep it moving, honey child.
That coffee must be, or that tea must be, keeps you perking at night. But the issue, I've been talking about these little things that you put one foot on and you push it the next foot, and they're on the sidewalk.
That's the same scooters.
Now
but you don't have to push them anymore because these are e-scooters, so they have a little motor.
Yep, and they're going on the road now, and there's no insurance. I called the other station the other day and talked about it, and the same week that I told them about it, somebody got killed down on the West Bay Road. I do not know why the traffic department don't take these off the road, because I don't think they can get any insurance for them. I don't think they're licensed. And then they got the other the ones I call the little matchbox, the little beetle ones. Two people sitting in it with a long stick up in the air.
Oh my gosh.
They got two colors on it. And few days ago, I was going down, pretty close by Jose gas station, and one came on the inside, on the left-hand side of me, and also these ones that have the scooters that with the eats that they deliver food in. They have a little box on the back with the scooters. I don't know if these people know how to ride these or not, but nobody don't come in on your left-hand side of the traffic. They pass on the right. And all I had to do was just turn my wheel a little bit to the right, and he would get killed. So I don't know what the traffic department is doing, but they need to get these off the road, because if a truck or a bus hit one of those, you're not even going to find them. You're not going to find them. So I don't know. I've been calling about it. Nobody's answering. Nobody's doing anything about it. So I don't know what they're going to do, but they're very dangerous for themselves, not for the people that drive the car. So I don't know. And the people that is on walking on the sidewalk, they got to look out for these ones that pushing these little things as well. So I don't know. Miss Henrik, do you know, remember years ago, we used to have to pay to license our bicycles, you know. We used to have to pay to license the bicycles.
Oh, wow.
Now, you're not going to, you had to pay, I think, maybe £5 or something a year to license your bicycle. And they give you a license that you used to put on your little bicycle. Something a little bigger than your driver's license nowadays. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
don't know
I
if those
think that I think that e-scooters, like even say in the Cayman Bay context, like you want to get from one end of Cayman Bay to the next quickly. I think e-scooters can certainly be utilized for certain things. I don't know about on the regular roadway. I think you're taking a real risk with your own life. And there's just so many concerns with them. And it's not just a situation that there's a concern here. I think Balika really makes the point that this is clearly an area of law that has not yet caught up with what's happening in the real world. So the technology is there. He talks about the Traffic Act and the traffic categorization and grouping regulations, talks about motor scooters, and there's no such thing as an e-scooter. It says just scooters, but they're not really defined. So, the law seems to be a bit outdated in this section, and I think our legislators need to get up to speed. But thank you so much, caller, for that. Appreciate it. All right, my dear. Another call coming in. Tiz, you're so popular these days. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yes, I'm just calling back. I just sent you a link, and they said that in the UK, they said that under the UK laws and regulations to the scooters, they are categorized under most of the same laws and regulation as motor vehicles, because not all e-scooters have signal abilities and number plates. They cannot be used legally on the road. Used currently as privately owned scooters can only legally be ridden on private land. These are not always the case, however, Transportation Committee of MPs has called for.
Yes. All right.
So e-scooters, they try to make it legalized, but it's not legalized to ride on the road because they do not have any signal abilities. They have no lights, no license plates, and some of these scooters don't even have the reflector tapes on them. And for them to be black at night, and sometimes some people be wearing black clothing on a black scooter at night. That's not a combination. So I'll leave it with that. But even like I said, if someone got injured, I think the liability, if you're gonna have a license, because obviously these people who are renting them have to have a business and trade license and registries and all that fun stuff. So therefore they have to have insurance. Where the liability of that insurance falls on, as if for say, if you riding it, you got injured, you're not signing it. You did not sign because you just use your debit card or whatever to pay to get on it. You're not signing anything to say that you're waiving your rights, right? Yeah. So therefore, they're still liable for you. Just like if you are a passenger in another vehicle, they're still liable for you. So It is something for them to think about because I've seen a lot of them and they do not have, like I said, no reflective tape, nothing to say to. And at nighttime, I would understand if you had them like bright color yellow or bright color orange or some reflective paint that people could see at night, but not dark on top of dark. And most places in Cayman is not well lit.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, lots of concern around this topic for sure. El Rey said that this just went from an insurance discussion to scooter discussion, but I think the important thing is because this is all related to insurance coverage and concerns about that, as we have more and more of these scooters becoming prevalent on the roadways, we need to ensure that everybody is on top of this. So legislation needs to essentially be updated. Well, Tiz, I know you're a busy woman. You spent some time with us this morning. We look like we could keep you all day. Everybody's still very, very much engaged in the conversation. But Tiz has to go out there and work for some clients, honey chow. She's got to ensure that you guys are getting what you deserve and what you're entitled to. So keep in mind, if you go to the wrong lawyer, you're looking at $5,000. If you go to the right lawyer over at Recover, over $40,000, which was an appropriate claim for the seriousness of the injury. So you've got to go to people who have the knowledge and experience, folks. It can make a difference really between life and death when it comes to dealing with these insurance companies. Tiz, thank you so much for joining us on today's program.
We'll see you next time. Take care.
All right, wonderful. All right, folks, that is Tiz Romano from Recover. Do give them a call. They're here to assist you with any sort of personal injury claims that you may have.
Recover Personal Injury Attorneys, helping injured people get what they deserve. Did you know that insurance companies have lawyers that represent their interests? Before signing and accepting any settlement, know your rights. Call us today for a free consultation at 924-9999. That's 924-9999. Recover. Your personal injury attorneys are on standby to assist.
All right, beautiful. Again, thank you to Tiz Romano from Recover. Give them a call. They're always available to answer your questions. Free consultations. You don't find too many lawyers, honey Jill, who are going to give you a free consultation, but the folks over at Recover will. Their contact number, 924-9999, 924-9999. All right, very good and interesting segment this morning. And I think, again, there's obviously a need for more education when it comes to insurance companies and coverage overall. I learned quite a few things today that I hadn't really thought about and didn't realize. You've got to be on top of it, my dear. And Gabby says, speaking of insurance companies, any new information on what's happening with Cayman First? Well, I don't think much has changed. Somebody else had messaged asking as well. From what I can see, they're still not paying the doctors in an efficient manner. What they do is, because they feel like the physicians are the ones who are reaching out to me, which isn't true. It's the poor people who go to their doctors and the doctor is saying, nope, we will not take Cayman First insurance because, they're having payment issues with them. And that really puts you're kind of like, what's the point of having health insurance if you can't even use it? Everything has to be out of pocket. And then you have to put in the claim and wait to try to get paid back, which is taking all 6+ months. So the last we heard, the regulatory agency, the Health Insurance Commission, was keeping an eye on the situation over at Cayman First. And they were, in fact, putting some additional restrictions in place. So when an insurance company starts doing stuff like not paying out, and at first they claim it's, a computer system, a new system glitches or whatever, and all these months later, they still can't get it right and they still can't figure it out, there becomes concerns about what's really going on. And so they put some additional restraints in place to kind of really just keep an eye on the situation. And so we've not really heard any significant updates about, what's happening. I don't think that much, unfortunately, has changed. So the Health Insurance Commission, again, said that they were monitoring. This was January the 18th. They were monitoring Cayman First. And in fact, they had now require them to provide quarterly financial reports for the year 2022, a written mitigation plan for the system integration and restoring appropriate staffing levels, monthly reports for outstanding historical claims, claims over 30 days, and current outstanding claims, a timeline for the resolution and clearance of identified backlogs, both claim payments and enrollment, and providing the Health Insurance Commission with a complaints handling policy. So all of these things have been put in place. And they were supposed to provide an update to the Health Insurance Commission by about their staffing and systems issues by January the 15th. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Sandra, I remember it. I'm addressing the insurance. I came in a little bit late. Okay, my mother paid from 1975 until about 2000, $75 per month for her insurance, health insurance. And once she was diagnosed, went to the hospital, she had no insurance, none whatsoever. However, they were collecting all this money from my mother from all these years, and then told her she had to upgrade. The person who came every month to collect money, and I decided to take them to court. What they did, they gave a family member a job, and I just dropped everything else. Wow. The insurance company is a ripoff.
Wow.
That's why I have no trust in the insurance company. And with driving, I heard where someone was driving on the wrong side of the road. I was in the States for like 6 months, and I came back, and I'm driving on the American side of the road, and I'm like, oh, this person, look how stupid they are. They're driving on the wrong side. And then I realized that I'm driving on the wrong side. So that can happen based on every person said. Once you driving on the wrong side of the road for years, then you come back to another country and drive, your mind automatically goes into the mood of where you were driving from.
Wow.
It was, the Clean Whopper. I saw that advertisement.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's new. That's Burger King Clean Whopper. I never heard of that.
Yeah, no preservatives and all sorts of goodness. So check it out. Go check it out. Have it. I might go by and have a little taste test myself.
Well, I'll encourage it because, however, I'm a vegetarian. But
yeah, I think it is a veggie. I think that one is a veggie patty. They do have a veggie burger, and I believe I'll double check, but I believe that one actually might be the veggie patty.
Okay.
We'll get to the bottom of it. We might have to have a bite to get to the bottom of that one. Thank you, caller. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay then. Yeah.
Have
okay,
a good
bye.
one. Yeah. All right, folks. Oh, my apologies. Got a little tickle in my throat. So back to yesterday's hot tea. Woo, honey chow. Oh my gosh. All I can tell you is countless people were obviously watching the live stream. A lot of you missed it for whatever reason, and you're going back and watching it. It's a crazy situation. The opposition, like I said, they're on it. They're saying, "Oh, we told you so." They're kind of like little kids on the little kids on the playground. Na 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 na. We told you, and I have always accepted that part of what they say is correct. I don't think it has anything to do with the party system. I think that when you have independent people who are trying to work as a cohesive group, that brings some unique challenges to the table. And it also brings unique challenges to the table when a lot of people have inflated egos. And I think that this really is the main problem here. And everybody wants to be a chief and nobody wants to be an Indian. My God. There's something to be said for people who understand the need to be of service. Yeah? Not everyone can be the premier. In fact, only one person can be the premier. And when you see people jump in there, well, I want this right like the premier. I need a driver. I need this. I need that. It's like, so what you're trying to tell us is you need the premiership. Can y'all just relax yourselves? First of all, you're getting more money than you ever thought you'd see in your life. Now, let's put this in perspective. How many people that you know, some didn't finish high school, some have no university degree, not a real professional qualification, not a trade, nothing, and they're making $12,000 a month. Never had a successful business, never done any of that, and they're making $12,000 plus a month. Y'all let that sink into your heads for a minute. And then the question becomes, what on earth are y'all complaining about? You're lucky that the people have given you a chance to represent them. My God, just behave and relax. Set your egos aside. There's something inherently wrong with people who are not appreciative of the opportunity that these MPs get supposedly to serve the people. They're not serving nobody but them damn selves. Sure. I tell you what. Anyway, before Tiz came on, we were finishing up, and I feel like we were done with the Mario conversation, but I do see some of you had commented on that. So again, I want to be very clear. We're talking about Mario Rankin here because some of y'all might have been confusing him with another Mario. All the other Marios in Cayman are like, please clarify that it's not that one. I was like, oh Lord, that it is that one and nobody else. Oh Lord have mercy. This person says, ask Mario how he took his Uncle Rex shares, 33.3% of them, and forged his signature and transferred them to Johan. Oh, geez, on peace. Removed his uncle off the company Material Imports. This is facts. Docs filed in court. Renard had to pay back Rex and bail Johan out of that mess. I worked with Mrs. Levers. Oh, yeah. In fact, it's interesting that you should mention that case because sure enough, there is a case, an offshore alert, Rex Rankin versus Mario Rankin. His own uncle had to sue him. And he's talking about people losing lawsuits and having to pay out money. Child, sometimes I keep telling y'all the best thing you can do is just keep your mouth shut. Because if the people only knew really and truly what you've been about your entire life, you should be hanging your head in shame. But some people don't have no shame, my dear. They just move through life as though they're the kitten caboodle. I don't know. They're the cat's meow. Meow. Poor Mario. What a hot mess. I'm trying to refresh my memory. Yeah, this is that case, actually. Rex Rankin, Mario Rankin. Poor old Johan. He was in the mix with him as a second defendant. Material Imports Limited, third defendant. Yep. It's right here. All the details. Rex Rankin, 20% shares. Philip Rankin, 40%. Mario Rankin, 40% shares. At all material times, authorized share capital is issued to the shareholders in this manner. Yes. Some shenanigans went on there. Well, listen, it is what it is. And I think once you have a dishonesty, that is why. It's so interesting, right? That in this jurisdiction, technically you could kill someone. And that doesn't necessarily preclude you from running for public office. But the one thing that our legislators have said will preclude you forever, for life, for running from public office is a dishonesty conviction. Because at the end of the day, a dishonesty conviction really speaks to your core of who you are. If you're a thief and you've been convicted and found guilty as a thief, you're a liar. You will probably always be a thief and always be a liar. I hate to say it because we want to believe people can change, but the law is very, very firm. You have a single, and listen, it doesn't even require you to have gone to jail or anything. It just says if you have a dishonesty conviction, that's enough to ensure that you never run for politics and represent the people of the Cayman Islands. Good morning, caller.
Hey, morning, Sandy. It's Johan Moxham. How you going?
Hey, Johan. How are you?
I'm all right. Just calling in really quickly. One point I understand. I just happened to turn the show on, and I heard a
your name mentioned.
Yes. Yeah. No, I just want to say to whoever that individual is, it's probably best to understand the facts than to talk complete fantasy and to spread incorrect information. If I were to ever find out who that person is, I would sue them because they're they've completely twisted a story to fit a narrative. Mario's engagement in that particular matter, this is how it went. Philip Rankin, Mario's uncle, and Mario basically sold shares in the company. Rex Rankin, who is Philip's brother and Mario's uncle, effectively had some type of falling out. And because Rex was in particular bad financial shape, he tried to sue in order to get money. No monies were ever paid to bail me out of anything. I was named in the matter, but it was effectively a question of being caught up in a Rankin family civil war between a disingenuous Rex Rankin and the other members of his family. I don't know who that person is, but I will not allow for any idiot out there to use my name to make some type of sport when they don't know the facts.
What was the outcome of the case? Give us the facts.
The case went away and there was nothing else to it because once they figured out Rex didn't have any money to defend anything, Rex couldn't pay his lawyer, and so this was a question of I will spend whatever money I need to spend to sue the living pants off of Philip, Rex, and Mario to basically get out of their bullshit family squabbles. And I don't apologize for that.
Language.
No. Listen. The family has a reputation. The family has a name. The question that needs to be asked is, how is Philip, who was the director of the company and secretary of the company, why was he not named in the lawsuit? That's because Philip and Rex were trying to get one over on their nephew, and effectively, my family and we were just collateral damage. Do you really think that I would end up buying, or my father would end up buying shares in something if we didn't feel that everything was above board? I'm a lot of things, but I'm not an idiot. And that's why I'm calling in, because
is this company Material Imports Limited?
Yeah, it was Material Imports.
Is it still around or it's no longer?
No. I don't know if it's still around, but I know that neither of us are involved anymore. We came off the record many years ago, no longer shareholders, no longer directors. But I just felt that it's appropriate to call in and set the record straight, because I work too hard to make any idiot try and involve me with the activities of a family that basically would screw each other over for pennies on a dollar. I don't care what they do. I wish them all the best of luck, but I just wanted to set the record straight. It's really unfortunate that people, whatever Mario does in life, good luck to him. I have nothing to do with that. I don't wish him good. I don't wish him bad. Do your thing, go on, whatever. Rex, same thing. But there's something genetically wrong with them when you're always in some type of trouble. Okay?
Okay. Leave me there.
No.
Thank you.
No. I was just going to also, the final point is, talking about politics and people resigning.
Yes.
Do the people in PPM forget that people have left their party? Do the people from the PPM remember that people have resigned during their time in office as well? People resigning or leaving a party for disagreements, that's just part and parcel of politics. So the entire, oh my God, it's falling apart, it won't last. That's one opinion. But at the end of the day, the PPM have had defections, they've had losses, and they're still around. So let's just see it for what it is. I don't know what really went on between why Mr. Saunders left or why the premier took the position he took, whatever the situation is. But when people don't agree, it's best to part ways and you still move on. At the end of the day, PAC is still the government of the Cayman Islands, and there seems to be 2 years before the next election. If people had trusted the PPM, they would have been able to form a government, but they couldn't. So, it is what it is, but that's how politics works in Cayman and anywhere else in the world, and I don't think it's a big deal. I just think we need to be smart enough to call the bullshit for what it is.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, folks, 936-2626 is the telephone number. I'm sure a lot of you have some thoughts about yesterday's program. Feel free to call in. We have about another, 35 minutes left in the program. We can talk about that. So by the way, I wanted to say this. Poor Juliana O'Connor Connolly had a little incident with her eye, and a lot of people didn't know what happened, and she did a whole job of explaining it at the grand opening of the John Gray High School on Tuesday. So we put up something on our website. Y'all were being shady, like, oh, why is she wearing these glasses during the press conference the other day? What is this all about? And she did, like I said, explain it. She actually showed us her injured eye. Oh my gosh, she got quite a hit. Her grandson had a little toy in his hand, a metal toy, and when she was trying to help him with something, somehow the toy made contact with her eye, burst a blood vessel, and caused the whole thing to swell up really, really bad. I understand that she had to go and seek emergency medical attention to see what sort of injury they were looking at, and thankfully it could have been way more serious. I mean, he could have actually gone into her eye, but it didn't. And so it looks pretty bad, but thankfully Miss Juliana is going to be A-okay. And, she's in recovery mode now as we speak. So she'll be all right. So we put the details up on the website if you guys want to go and get all the details, and you can hear what she said about her injured eye. She used it. Here she is. I mean, look at the eye is closed completely. The whole thing is like black and blue. Poor her. Oh my gosh. That is quite a lick. I suppose these things happen. I've been fortunate enough. I've never had a black eye in my life, not a physical one, maybe a literal one, but definitely not a physical black eye. But I can imagine that must be painful. And the thing she said is the other eye apparently is not her good eye. I wasn't aware that she really had eye issues, but the other eye, so she's struggling, and she has to wear those dark glasses, not just to cosmetically cover up, because I think she has some kind of light sensitivity or something going on as well that has really made it a bit challenging. So Siobhan says, ouch. Alejandro wishing her full recovery. Good morning to Miss Sue. She made it a very interesting, teachable moment to the young people. And I thought that was ever so interesting. So Mark is saying that if I ever have a child that's a boy, I should name it Mario Hill. That would be a good name. I can pretty much guarantee you that would never happen. Number one, no more kids. Number two, wouldn't be naming my dog Mario because that'd be an insult to my dog. So sorry, that ain't gonna happen. Yes, honey child, that was me being full on shady in case you missed it. No, honey child, not today, Bobo. Not today. Woo, honey. Let me sip my tea over here. So what does it mean now that the cabinet has been reshuffled? We know that transport has been moved over to, what's his name? Minister J.E. Banks. I think that's a logical move. Actually, that makes more sense. And the minister will be able to focus on port and tourism. I have somebody said you need cold water, not hot tea. Too hot. Brr. Throwing shade left, right, and center up in here, honey chill. Oh, Mark having a laugh. So, I think they just need to get on with the business now of doing their jobs. Somebody was circulating this morning about, Alden, remember when he was in the platform during the last election saying that this not gonna last and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? Of course, they're laughing and they're having a moment, but let us be very, very careful about how, as Johan said, this is not the first time, and we need to go back in history that people have walked across the aisle one way or the other. This is almost the norm in politics. The former premier, Alden McLaughlin himself, has had to reshuffle and remove ministers and high-ranking civil servants are moved around because they couldn't get along with people and this, that, and the next thing. It's not the first time, and sadly, it probably won't be the last time. Somebody mentioned that both Anthony Eden and Alva Saku and Winston have walked across the aisle. And so it's important and walked from PPM. They've had people resign. I mean, the progressives operates on the basis that they hope that you have a very, very short memory. Don't have a short memory. Unfortunately, this is the bad side of politics. This is the side that we don't really want to see. I think what is different, and I'm going to be very, very honest with you, this isn't differences of political opinion why this happened. And I told y'all, the man did not resign. He was fired. He was removed. And the only person that can really remove him is the governor. So I want y'all to have that moment sink in, right? What has really happened here is Premier Panton has held one of his own ministers accountable for their ongoing incredulous behavior. And is that not what we want? What's the point of having a code of conduct if it's never going to be used? Right? What's the point of having a code of conduct if no one is ever going to say you've crossed the line and you've gone too far? Where's the accountability in the PACT? This is exactly what we want. We don't want ministers or anybody in government to believe that they can operate with complete impunity and they can walk around and do whatever the heck they want. Not how it can go. And that, the people will only have a say every 4 years, and that every 4 years they'll hoodwink you into voting for them yet again. Somebody else is reminding us, they said Bernie Bush, Juliana O'Connor Conley, Dwayne Seymour, Ozzie Barden, Wayne Panton, Alva Saku have all resigned and left the PPM. Touche. Don't be fooled now by the antics of, we told you this wasn't going to work out and blah, blah, blah. I think a blind man in China could have seen all the way in the Cayman Islands that a formation of really strong personalities and a lot of newcomers as ministers and some newcomers to the political arena, putting those people together and saying, here you go, get it right, work together, was at best going to be challenging. And at worst, disastrous. We're not at disastrous yet, but we can definitely see where the challenges are coming in. And so I would say to all other members of the PACT government, the PAC government, please get your foolishness together if you're engaging in any. And because, you make your colleagues look bad. The colleagues that are actually working hard and getting stuff done and they're good ministers, you make them look bad with all this other behavior. Keep it together. Don't give Alden the what's the word I'm looking for? Don't give him the privilege of saying, you see, I told you they wouldn't be able to keep it together for 4 years, because let's be honest, the last government, we all said the same thing about him. With McKeever and the bunch, we're like, oh God, they're not going to be able to keep it together for 4 years. And depending on how you define keeping it together, I actually say that they weren't able to keep it together. And that's why he had to call an early election, because he refused. Had over 1,000 days to hold McKeever Bush accountable for multiple instances, not just the vicious assault on that woman, but even the incident that happened at the casino in Miami, Seminole Casino. That administration refused to hold anybody accountable. So apparently, if you're under the PPM or you're under the PAC administration, you ground slapping people in the behind in Miami, grabbing people, groping people, physically fighting a woman, all this kind of stuff. And the likes of Alden McLaughlin and the rest of the leadership over at the Progressives will sit back and do nothing. They will not hold you accountable for your behavior. That's a sad indictment on them. So I think it's really important to differentiate what has happened here. Chris Saunders didn't resign because him and the leader of the PAC government and the premier of this country had some philosophical difference. He was fired, removed from office because of his ongoing bad behavior, and there was no correcting that on the horizon. He's been talked to over and over and over and over again. Disrespecting the governor, accusing the governor of being a racist and this and that, cursing and carrying on like a proper fool in what should be a professional environment. So what would y'all expect the premier to do? Sit back and allow this to continue for the next 2 years? Allow the civil service to be terrorized by a minister, a government minister? And I saw that Paul, bless your heart, Paul, joining us from Bermuda, Paul said he was shocked at the salary. Paul said, what? $12,000 a month? That's over $145,000 US. Honey child, that's 12,000 CI dollars. Do the math and do the currency, and you understand why when I say that we have expectations of these ministers, we expect them to do better. That's 146,400, and some of them actually getting over 12, by the way. So we rounded it to 12, and let me see what that is in US dollars. If we do it at 0.80, that's $183,000. So yes, when we're paying you that kind of money, we have expectations. Morning caller, how are you?
Good morning again, Sandy. A different topic now, a hotter topic. Now, I think a lot of the points that you're pointing out are quite correct. Now, I just want to sort of like continue with that discussion. PPM have done good in the country. UDP or Cayman Democratic Party or whatever their new name is, they've also done good. But over time, in my view,
caller, I think the UDP is actually defunct. I don't think that they exist anymore.
No, I don't. No, you're right. They don't exist anymore. But I'm just talking about the past. That when they were in some form of existence, you know, there are some good things they did. But I think that no party in the Cayman Islands, in my view, has dealt with the fundamentals. You know, the whole immigration issue and loss of turf and so on. But I just say that because I don't want to sound negative. But otherwise, I want to address the PPM in particular.
Yes.
You see, the PPM first of all, in addition to what you have said. The PPM, if there is any confusion in this government, if there is any, they are part of it. Because purely for purposes of power, they're the ones who were speaking to people within this government to see if they could overthrow it effectively, legally, but overthrow it effectively. And in my view, at the time they did that, I don't think that there were any national interests they were trying to pursue. They just saw that there might have been a little bit of a fractiousness within the government. They decided to take advantage of it, and then to come and try to take over the government. And the PPM, especially in their latter iterations, have been the ones who are part of this conspiracy to keep people in Cayman ignorant. Yesterday, my good friend Danny Warren Jr. called. He actually surprised me when I heard him say, "Well, I tried to teach administrative law in government, and I was prevented." And he was right about that. And what I need to add to that, which is part of the duplicity of the PPM in the later iterations, is that when I was in government, you know, Sandy, I put together a book of more than 200 pages on Cayman administrative law, specifically written so that the civil service could benefit. I had a PowerPoint presentation detailed. I had a binder of materials to help people in government, the chief officers, understand how administrative law works. Just for those people who don't understand, administrative law is that branch of the law which looks at public institutions to see when discretion is being abused, when people are being victimized, when irrelevant considerations are taken into account to deny you a license, when disproportionate things are being done to you and to deny you a license. That's the area which people needed to understand about. And after I did that, it was Sir Alden McLaughlin, together with Samuel Bergin, who said they didn't want that course to be taught to civil servants. I was going to do it for nothing. It wasn't part of my job. I have international experience in teaching those kinds of things. And they decided that I was not going to teach it in government. Then, in concluding, I don't want to take long. So what happened then, a Caymanian, generational Caymanian, came to me and said, well, I understand that you've got this course you've developed together with other courses. I've put together a training company. I want you to teach this part-time. But me, stupid me, I wanted to do it by the book. I went to government and I said, please give me permission to teach this part-time. Alden McLaughlin, together with Samuel Belgian, they refused. They said, you can't even teach it privately. So I couldn't teach it in government. I couldn't teach it privately for the benefit of the government. And then, because at that time I was so mad about it, I had been in legal for 11, 12 years, I took them to court. And you know what they did? And this is the clincher. They hired a lawyer. I will mention him because the name is in the public domain. Tom Law QC, together with David Collier from CARD, Charles Adams, Rich and Duckworth, the old McLaughlin firm. They paid that firm, again, this is a public figure, $80,000 to get a lawyer to come and argue in court to say I shouldn't teach something that was beneficial to the public. Can you imagine? Yeah. And after that, I lost the case. And then they charged me the cost, the $80,000 cost. I didn't pay them. I told them to go and fly. I told them to go and fly a kite until the period for paying that time, 6 years, expired. And that's how the PPM, who are today trying to say they are holier than thou, they have been the ones who have been going out there to say, don't teach this course. You know, there are 20 chief officers. The chief officers had asked that I should teach the course, but they were overruled by those two people. So this is my story. You asked me to come to Cayman so that I can contribute. I tried to contribute. The PPM said, we don't want you to contribute. We want to keep people ignorant. I thank you this morning, Sam.
Wow. Well, I'm not surprised. Thank you, caller. Someone's asking for a copy of your book, by the way. I've just sent you a message. Let me know how they can get a copy of that. But I am not surprised, folks, that the PPM would want to keep the people ignorant. That is their biggest fear. You keep people stupid and not in the know, and they don't know what's going on. You continue to vote them in. That's how it works. That's why we're here, to shine a light on everybody. The cold hard truth. I'm gonna shine a light on you, honey chill. People don't like that light being shunned. Miss Moya says, if we were counting this as 3 times our premier has kept to his word and kept his MPs and his government accountable, Bernie, Mac, and now Saunders. So thank you, Premier, and keep showing the country what accountability looks like. Yes. And, quite frankly, we have to recognize that in the world of politics, a lot of these politicians are not used to being held accountable. They're used to doing whatever they want and getting away with it. And I think that's why, because some people say to me, Sandy, these guys cannot be that stupid. They can't think that they can be doing this, that. And I said, you know what? I don't know if stupid is the right word. I think that they are brazen, right? And they are used to watching people like a McKeeva Bush, who's been there for 40 years. And McKeeva Bush has essentially been untouched for a large portion of that. He was untouchable, or so he thought. And so when this is their mentor, this is who they grew up idolizing, people like this in politics, right? So they believe when they get in there, they get to a certain level that they become untouchable and they can say and do whatever they want. But thank the good Lord, accountability, the days of true accountability are finally here. If the premier has to be the sheriff of the government, good on him. We, the people, thank you. As Ms. Moya just said, we appreciate it. So Strong Will said, but if he is fired and he's still working, that should be demoted, not fired from the position. Yeah, he's fired from being a minister. The only people that can fire him from being an MP, as we've heard before, would be the people of this country. So y'all now have a decision to make at the next general election about Christopher Saunders. Will you fire him as your MP for Bordentown West? Like I said yesterday, it's going to come down to one important point. Who is going to be running against him? And are they offering you anything better? It's going to be interesting. I will definitely say that. And I really am hoping that we have some good, viable candidates in the upcoming election. And listen, if you're thinking about running in the next election, do me and the people of the Cayman Islands a favor. Do not jump up and run for politics 1 month before, and nobody never heard of you. Nobody never seen you before. You've never been involved in the community. If you really want to put yourself out there, please let us see a track record of delivering something for the people. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning. I didn't want to call in again on this morning.
That's
again,
okay,
but
honey. No problem.
tell me something. Who lying now? Because on Chris Sanders' statement, he put that he resigned from the position, and you saying he fired. And I don't know what the premier said.
The premier
and I will catch that.
I think that we can listen to what the premier said. All the premier essentially said is he's no longer part of his government. If Chris Saunders had actually resigned, I'm pretty sure the premier would have said that. He never said it. He never said that.
So Mr. Sanders is a liar then?
Yes, sir. He is.
Well, okay, all right.
And more things than that. But anyway.
The thing is, I thought that they were setting a new president. Because
of accountability.
You know what PPM done. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You know what a PPM done in the past. So this now is moving forward. So this government coming like they're doing the same thing. Because
I tell you the
we
difference.
don't know
This is
what
I
the
said.
exact reason was that this man has been fired. Okay,
the difference
was it a serious sexual abuse that it had to been a criminal? Are there charges involved, or did they just fire him, or he just stepped down on the code of conduct?
Go listen to yesterday's show, because I think what I did was try to give you.
I listened to it.
I tried to give you a snippet of what was going on, and there are more things. Right here's another example. I was actually waiting on this email to come in, so I could read the actual email. But let me give you another example of what Chris Saunders would do. Right. He would, like I said, he has a penchant for making allegations against people when there's no foundation for it. So he made an allegation.
So what you saying now? Everything you saying now is facts.
Well,
you're saying the facts.
I know. I can take it to the bank. That's how factual it is. I can cash it. I can cash my receipts.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Well, that's the problem now. It's too much mixed up. Too much people saying things, and you don't know what the problem.
Right.
You don't know what the real truth is.
Yeah.
So even the governor should come out and say something.
Yeah, and
even the governor should come out and say something.
In my mind,
So,
there was.
I'm surprised.
Listen, he cussed out and carried on with the governor, and the governor never said anything about that. You have to understand how people.
Right, he should have. I seen him a whim too, and I lost my respect for all of them outside there.
That's
they're not saying what's going on.
But
you just said bigger if you're gonna vote this man back in again next election. So what are giving us to stand on to vote him or not to vote him in again? You know? So this is the thing. This is the thing I'm talking about on this island.
Let me put it this way. Let's give Chris Saunders a 50% discount. You know, when you go to court, they give you a discount based on an early guilty plea and all this kind of stuff. Let's give him a 50% discount and say half of what Sandy has said isn't true, which that's not the case. But let us just give him more than the benefit of the doubt. Would you still not have concerns if even half of what I said wasn't true? Like only 50%. You take half of what I said yesterday.
I'm not saying I disbelieve you, I'm just saying what's the official position. Because it not only I'm sure not only him is arrogant, I'm sure there's a lot of them that is arrogant
Yeah, but
outside there.
the arrogance, it wasn't just
You
about
mightn't hear about it. It probably never went as far as
but listen,
is
it's not
hooking
just
up with
about
the governor or
arrogance.
whatever.
Let's be very clear, right? It's not about, oh, you're arrogant, you don't want to take off your shoes at a checkpoint. It's about arrogance, and when women tell you they're not interested in you in the workplace, you continue to pursue them. And 4, 5, 6 of these women have made formal complaints, and there's probably more out there who haven't made a formal complaint. It's about your arrogance makes you say things about people that impacts their reputation professionally that isn't true. So there's a lot more. It's not just arrogance.
I hope that we could I hope we could see something coming up in the court, some charges filed or something, some kind of report against them or something, so that we would know if that were the case, and
Well,
it's
I
just going to
don't
be
know. I
another
think
hush
a
up
lot
and
of
another
these victims
payoff position. Well, that's their problem too, that they got to try to learn a little bit, because how we gonna get better? The next set that come, they're gonna be doing the same thing. They got to learn, if that's the case, to stand up and be counted. Nothing happens by itself. They can't expect you to fight every battle for them. So this is the thing.
Thank
this
you,
is the thing in this island. And nothing not gonna get no better. All right, if we don't stand up.
I appreciate that comment very much, and I agree that we have to stand up. But unfortunately, I also understand that people are afraid. There's a lot of people, folks, that are afraid, especially civil servants. Even this morning, I had someone say to me, Sandy, I'm so glad that you said that yesterday. They're like, oh my God, I was up last night watching your show, all 3 hours of it. And I have to tell you that when you talked about how afraid people in the civil service are, that really hit a nerve with them. This person said, we are legitimately afraid of these politicians. And to me, that's crazy, And the person said, there might be some people, some civil servants who have a loyalty to one government versus the next. I said, but honestly, the vast majority of the civil servants are loyal to that paycheck that they're getting. They just want to get paid so they can pay their mortgages and pay their bills and feed their families and survive in ever challenging times. And they're not getting into the mix, into the politics. But, when people come in there with a certain presence and attitude and whatever, they're the civil servants who have to work with them are indeed walking around in eggshells and afraid. I think that that's such a sad indictment on anybody who is in a leadership position. What can you say? So George called in yesterday, and he apologized. I think hopefully he said he wrote to the former board members, the women that he spoke about last week, Wednesday, in our program. He sent them an email. They've not responded to him. What I can say about the George situation, which is a little bit more complex, because I think we're dealing with someone, as I've said before, who's suffering from something called bipolarism, as well as other things. But if he doesn't get help for that, his life would always be tipsy-turvy, and there'll always be turmoil for poor George. But I do believe that, the comments that he made, and again, it was so interesting that he targeted just the women. And to me, as a woman, that stood out. Women have a hard enough time in the workplace. Women have a hard enough time sitting on boards where the testosterone around the table is just so strong. It's just ridiculous sometimes. And the men are often the ones who are the chairmen and the deputy chairs, and they will have their way, and they tend to degrade and put you down. And, so his comments that he made last week, I thought was really interesting. Number one, he said a lot, first of all, but specific to the council. He only picked on the 2 women. I think, in fact, there's actually only 2 women on the council. He only picked on those 2 women, didn't have anything to say about the men. Talked about one who was like, oh, she was just there to set up the email and kind of be a secretary, basically, and take notes. And, I thought to myself, okay. And he called them by name. And so now he's issued an apology. So let's have a listen to this apology. He called in yesterday to Radio Cayman and had, in part, the following to say. At least he is saying sorry in some form or another.
Aggressively, I use a lot of profanity. I want to apologize to all the people of the Cayman Islands who heard me on open mic. I don't know why I did it, but I know why I did it. I was defending my character, and I was defending myself aggressively. But I used a lot of profanity. Apparently, I haven't heard the tape. So I want to hear it. But some people have told me that it did not do me any good. But that's not the primary reason, because I can ask my God to forgive me for my cursing and my sins. But during the course of that conversation, I mentioned two colleagues who are still on the council of the Consumer Council. I mentioned their names because of, again, defending myself against certain allegations that could have been real or perceived. I mentioned, and I will have to call their names, Miss Alana Warwick-Smith and Megan Rich. I want to publicly apologize to those two ladies because I disclosed some what I would consider to be privileged information. And again, it's one of those weak moments in my life where I was defending myself.
Okay, is that the end of it? Might be. Okay. Anyway, so he has apologized to those two women. I'm not really sure if they will accept his apology or not. They've not responded to his email. I think what I would suggest, oh God, if I could give George some advice, it would be the same advice that I gave Miss Tiffany Conley. Put the phone down, stay off of social media, deactivate your account so maybe you're not tempted to post anything and to say anything further. Just disappear for 6 months and just work on yourself, work on your situation. I think it's unfortunate and it's a bad look when George continues to excessively post because, you know, he's become a bit of a laughing stock, and there are people who are looking at this situation. Somebody even sent me this morning, unfortunately, now he's put up that he's offering services to help you adopt a child. The same day on Wednesday after he was on this program, he was cussing out expats and work permit holders. And the irony that people saw in that is, hold on a second, you operate a business that is based on actually providing immigration services for people and, you know, putting in work permits for people. So what are you talking about? Oh, and you know, none of these people who have status or get a piece of paper should be able to own a business. Well, help us understand, George. Does that include people that are your family members, such as your wife? Are you saying that your wife, who might now have RERC or status or whatever, I don't know, I don't think it's been 7 years yet, but are you saying that she shouldn't be able to open up a business? Or is she going to have an exemption because she happens to be your wife? I mean, come on now. We have to be fair and balanced, I think, in our comments, and getting up on a high horse when you really need to just probably stay off of social media and relax yourself a minute. It's just not a good look, you know? So please, somebody take this man's phone away, take his social media account away, get him some professional counseling, and just get him to stop. Because every single time he posts something, I have people sending me the screenshots. Even Danny Tatum from Flow was in his comment section saying, George, why didn't you come off of social media? Why are you here? Why do you keep going on and on about this? Do you realize that the only person that you're making look bad in this moment is yourself? And I don't think that I don't know Danny to be a person who really comments and says a whole lot. So, you know, when someone decides to talk, when they normally are quiet, that's when you're like, maybe you listen. So this is what he said. Like I said, people send you he says, I have to give you a 10 for trying. And then there was a conversation back and forth. And he says, this is what George said to him. Oh, you're jealous because he was posting pictures of himself, you know? And Danny says, no, I'm not jealous of you. It's just like, there's something kind of skipping, man. There's something really, really skipping. And I don't know. I mean, here's the latest. Now offering a new service, assisting those persons who wish to adopt a child to hire me, my company, to facilitate their aims and objectives and to assist them to cut through the red tape. on their onward journey to happiness. Well, I didn't know there was a huge market for the adoption of children, but okay. I guess that's a new niche market or something. I'm not really sure. But what I do know, folks, is the constant posting on social media really comes across as a little bit unstable, and every day it's something else, and every day you're messaging some other person. So here's a conversation with him and Danny, where, Danny Tatum is saying, bro, you need to just basically relax yourself and come off of social media. So he accused Danny of being jealous. And Danny says, no, bro, not at all. You made your bed and you need to sleep in it. You played those games. I don't. Pretty pics don't get you off of the hook. Just saying. The narrative that you're trying to push on social media and what you're trying to convince people of, you might in fact just be doing the opposite. Yeah. Danny goes on to say, only time will fix this. Pretty pics won't. By the way, that was pretty bad, embarrassing advice. Go quiet for a few months. Seriously. And I think this is good, salient advice. Pull back, George. Stop it. Don't call into any more radio stations. Nobody want to hear you crying. Nobody don't want to hear this, that, next thing. Just disappear. Focus on your work. You have a family that you have to support. You are, the more that you do this, you risk the chance of losing your customers. Because customers have got to be watching thinking you're batshit crazy, and they probably really don't want you to be handling their work permits. That whole thing about work permit holders and this and that was not a good move, because your business is helping people take out and apply for immigration's WORC services, which is largely the application for work permit holders. You have clients who have been calling me saying, Sandy, this is the kind of man who will, you hire him to work for your company, and then he goes to your workers and bad mouths you, who's paying his bills, to your staff. It's not a good look. It's really, really horrible, in fact. So I encourage you to get yourself some help. John LaRue says, can you spell narcissist, George? That's in the mix. Servan says, is he crying? Duke says, uneducated people elect dumb ministers, cut 50% and put that 50% towards the mental health hospital in East End. A healthy brain is a healthy country. Come on, ministers. Jonathan says, I don't like Chris because my understanding is that he wants to introduce some type of property tax to keep government budget afloat. He has said it on record and people have cheered him on. I don't understand that. I'm not too sure about that, but I don't know. John LaRue says, listen to those crocodile tears, laughing out loud. It did sound a bit like an acting gig. Scott says it's not just fear of the politicians, it's fear of the officers and directors who seemingly have lifetime appointments. So many civil servants with valid workplace issues, modernization issues, recommendations, they stay silent because they fear losing their jobs over speaking up. It's a normal part of working in any organization, and most countries and jurisdictions have protections against retaliation. Thank you, Scott, for those very salient comments. Strong Will says, hey, Sandy, is he crying? Poor thing. I am sorry for his wife and those innocent children. And of course, those are always the people that suffer really and truly in the end. You little brat says, get a counselor. No, Joseph, nobody punched Miss Juliana except her grandson accidentally hit her in the eye. CE Bank says George needs to work on himself. I'm one happy Caymanian that I keep to myself and no social media. Don't waste my time with that crap. I call all those platforms social gossip and madness. And Dean, good morning. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Just one thing to say. Me-itis and me disorder is some serious cases, and it's hard to get away from me. So, just want to, if we just step back and try to get away from me, people like we are talking about would have a better day.
Thank you, caller. Yes, that too. Very me-centric, and I think the point is not lost on people. Siobhan says, I agree. That's why I asked. He sounds like he's fake crying. Queena, good morning. So she says, on top of Caymanians not being able to afford a small piece of land, there's a possibility of now paying land tax. Oh, my God. OMG. We have no choice. No chance. My apologies. Yeah, I hadn't heard that. So I don't know. I don't know what that's all about, to be honest. We pay enough taxes in this country. We don't pay direct taxation, but trust me, when you add up what we do pay, I dare say that it's enough. All right, folks, so stay tuned for your daily news buzz. Big shout out to Kevin Watler, who brings you this every single day. Really appreciate his contributions and the rest of the CMR team. Oh, gosh, that's my little thing reminding me of a business meeting. That's my little reminder. I've been putting things in my calendar properly with reminders. All right, folks, here's your business buzz. Tomorrow is Friday. I can't believe it's Friday already. This week flew by. So tomorrow we're going to have a segment of Cayman Voices. Make sure you tune in. I'm so excited. This gentleman is from East End. You guys are going to be tickled pink to hear who it is. And it's also Culture Day. So represent tomorrow. Wear a little something representing Cayman culture. I don't care what it is. A little straw hat. Take your little bag. Take something to work that represents who you are. Oh, wait. Hold on. I've been told, don't forget, there's some shout outs that I need to do. Oh my goodness. Look at my little friend Lavana. It is her anniversary. How many years we gone now, honey child? How many years are we in for? Happy birthday to the beautiful Lavana and her husband, celebrating another year of wedded bliss. Congratulations. It's so wonderful to see people married and actually happy. There's something to be said for that, my love. And I was actually just remembering myself that this year, Marlon and I are coming up on 10 years of being together. What a hot mess. He's been able to put up with me for 10 years. Bless his little heart. There's Lavana and her boo-boo. My goodness. Congratulations, my darling. Also, Siobhan, is today your birthday? When is your birthday? Is it today or tomorrow? So this is 4 years of wedded bliss. We're coming up on 8 years ourselves this year. Yeah, we're celebrating 8 years of wedded bliss and 10 years of being a team and trying to get stuff done. And we got that little 6-year-old precious little darling, Miss Gigi. So I love to see people in love. I love to see love. So pretty. Look at her. Isn't she beautiful? Yes, that's Cayman beauty for your honey child. Nothing like a Cayman girl. All right, my good people. Thank you very, very much. Everybody's wishing you a happy anniversary. Big shout out also to Gemma McLaughlin. Gemma celebrated a birthday this week. And oh, speaking of birthdays, Jonathan Kleeman, he's never getting married again. Poor Jonathan. You'll find the one, Jonathan. Don't worry. And speaking of birthdays, today is Barbara Conley's birthday, MP Barbara Conley. So big shout out to MP Conley and happy birthday to her as well. All right, folks, here's your news headlines.
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. Here's a summary of some of Cayman's latest headlines. Deputy Premier and Bordentown West MP Christopher Selvin Saunders has resigned as a Minister of Cabinet and member of the Pact effective immediately. The shocking announcement came yesterday morning after what he described as a brief meeting with Premier.
My apologies, but that seems like old news. Did we not get the new news uploaded? Well, y'all heard that already, so we're not going to waste any time repeating news around here. Lots of congratulations coming into Lavana. So on that note, we'll just end the show. I don't know what happened to today's news upload. But anyway, you guys have a fantastic show, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.